Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Steve, On The Level, Thomas van der Zander, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadswazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Melds 24, Unimento, Iron 26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Charion Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I don't mean I mean in the sense that they know better, bro. You know, they hear.
How do you know they know better?
Because you can't be this idiotic and you can't be like double speaking and contradicting yourself each time, and that being pointed out to you, and you keep doing the same thing day in and day out. Like, come on.
Embo almost slipped up the other night, didn't he? When he was asked about whether he was just wasting our time or not.
How did he slip up?
That's why Jesse took 2 months off with the server. He had to wait for his brain to reset and thought that we forgot all his crap arguments, and he finally came back. Like, they do that. Like, they get, like, amnesia after a minute. Like, you tell him everything you need to tell him. Jesse's the worst. He's just as bad as the other ones. He just has a more polite demeanor.
Yeah, he brings the same diagrams again, you know, with the horizontal plane and the distance being a horizontal vector, you know, and the mountains have a zenith, which is a 90 degree to the surface. So, yeah. Same
hold on a
all.
second. Shadow was trying to say something, guys.
Sorry.
Shadow? You said Embo almost slipped last night or last morning.
Oh, that was me. Yeah, somebody asked him if he was just wasting our time or not, and he let out a little giggle and was very slow in answering. So I sort of assumed that he was.
Well, he also said he's here for entertainment. I just wonder who is he entertaining. You know what I mean?
Well, obviously, I think everybody's here for entertainment. I think both sides. So, I mean, to us, just being around here, whether we're FE and want to talk to FE, to us talking with other FE guys is entertaining. So,
yeah, but how do you think you help in the globe side if you're continuously lying, contradicting yourself, and you know what I mean, like making fool out of yourself? How do they help the globe side? I don't get it.
well, you see, that's the thing. We can't really divine their thoughts. You know, maybe in their eyes they're actually right and they're making the right arguments, and we look bad. Maybe, you know, like I can't really divine their thoughts. That's why I don't want to go there.
Well, yeah, I do think that flat earthers who waste their time with them make themselves look bad. I'll be honest, man.
I got something.
Yep. But it shouldn't be about their thoughts. We couldn't give a damn of what their thoughts are. Yeah,
Or beliefs.
What the claim on the table is. Yeah, there is a claim on the table. Yeah, that the Earth is spherical and it's spinning. Yeah, if they come with any other rhetoric rather than that, either they are flat earthers or anti-flat earthers.
All right, let's yeah, we don't. How do I put it? Yeah, we want to focus on the argument and what they're discussing, but at the same time, we want to understand their thoughts on the argument. We don't necessarily want to, you know, go, oh, are they chill? Are they not chill? Are they legit? Are they not legit? We just want to understand how they understand the arguments, and then, you know, like having a communication, a back and forth, you know, trying to figure out what's going on here in terms of the arguments. But what I noticed from just talking from them again a little bit lately is they completely don't understand perspective, and this is like a major a major holding back for them to come into FE.
Yeah, I've noticed that. About perspective, I don't seem to
Horizon
be
is
able to see
perspective.
that.
Wait. Somebody else was trying to talk, guys. Go again, guys. You said you've noticed that.
Yeah, with the perspective, with the horizon thing, they seem to think that we did not. Well, they're saying like there shouldn't be a horizon if the Earth was flat, as if it's all going to change. But the perspective understanding seems to be the problem there.
Yeah, it seems to be
Hold
at the
on.
core of it,
So,
is what I was trying to say earlier and a few days back. This seems to be like at the core of this debate.
so if the Earth is flat, it cannot have a horizontal, horizon.
Yes,
It cannot
George, we
have
went over
a
this.
parallel to the plane of the horizon if the Earth is flat.
Well,
It's
they
ridiculous.
don't get perspective on many, many, many levels, okay? And that is one of the levels they don't understand perspective on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the
they're super
horizon is
clever.
not curving. That's the problem. Horizontal is parallel to the plane of the horizon.
Right, but I'm not talking about that, George. Come on.
But you should.
No, I talk about what I want to talk about, George.
Well, they do default to the side-on view, which I think confuses them.
Well, like the
Yeah,
horizon rising to eye level. Come on. You needed
It's
Bacon to come here to tell you that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level.
it's the orthographic view, yeah. But yeah.
And then trying to turn a baseline into a tangent.
They don't have a tangent. They have a straight line to a horizontal line, because that's what the horizon is. It's horizontal. If you have a line towards the horizon, you have a straight line to a horizontal line. If you are above it. If you are on the surface, yeah, you have a horizontal line to a horizontal line. No tangents.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't get a GP off a tangent. He'll be in the midair on a ball.
We need to stop this thing of referring always to the ball. This language that we are using, it doesn't fit on the ball. We're using horizontals, verticals. It doesn't fit.
You know what I think is
Yeah, well, one deck
um,
put a whole list together, right?
well, I noticed a huge disconnect.
Exactly. And EMBO on the other day, he wasn't allowed to use any of these words. We didn't allow him. You can't use this because you're using a flat plane.
I was gonna say one thing I noticed is well, is this a line in the song? Yeah, it is. It's a line in the Guns N' Roses song. What we have here is a failure to communicate, right? I noticed
No,
I noticed
righteous.
sometimes
Hold on,
I
righteous.
noticed
Hold on,
sometimes we could have a better job
righteous.
at communicating. But go on, Neil.
Oh my God, it's not a line in a Guns N' Roses song. It's a line
It
from a
isn't,
movie. Cool Hand
but
Luke.
is it? But it isn't a Guns N' Roses
What
song. I
what
don't
we
know the
have
movie, but
here is a failure to communicate.
right. But you know that song isn't a Guns N' Roses song, right?
Okay, so Guns N' Roses came 30 years after the movie, so we'll give them the credit for that line. Okay.
Well, I'm just telling you where I know it from. I don't know the name of the movie or where the line came from. I just know it was used in the song.
Okay, so now you learned something. He took it from the movie Cool Hand Luke.
All right. Well, that's what I've been noticing. I've been noticing we could brush up on our communicating. I noticed. I'm not just talking about like the globe, right? I'm just talking about just among FE. You know what I mean? I noticed we could do a little bit better in that area.
Oh, whoa. How? How? We explain how Earth is measured flat. It's very simple.
Well,
That's probably
I'm
the
talking.
problem. Too
I'm, I'm
simple.
I'm talking in general, just like working up on our back and forth, so to say.
What did you say, Casey?
But I understand what
Well done,
George
Neil.
is saying. What's there to go back and forth on?
What did you say, Casey? I think I heard what you said.
I think that's the main problem because it's that simple. They can't believe it.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Earth measured flat. Simple as that. But
It's almost
don't
too
know.
good to
Just
be true,
seems to
right?
be enough.
Okay, so then how does that? What is that? What does that have to do with us? How do we have to communicate better? It's plain and simple. It's black and white.
Right. I'm not talking about just one subject. I'm talking about a myriad of subjects. Right. Just communication in general.
But a lot of the subject is
Right?
pretty
Just when
straightforward.
somebody,
Gas pressure without container. Simple. It just seems too easy for them to grasp it.
There are different views within
It's,
FE, though.
I think it's worse than that because words have meaning. Yeah, words like level, and everyone is questioning if level is level or if level is curve. It's about
correct.
linguistics.
Yeah,
In
again,
what
level.
world in level is level curve? In what world? You tell me.
No language in the world would say that level is curved. No language. 'Cause that is the problem, you know? It's the meaning of the word. And then people want to check if sea level is level with lasers. There is no other tool to measure level than water because we get level from liquid water. So sea level, the vast majority of the known world is sea. Yeah, flat Earth.
I am so exhausted. You know, when a pilot gets into
Nathan, you
the
gonna tell
air.
us how it went or what?
Again, Mush?
You gonna tell us how the presentation went or what?
Oh, yeah, it went fine. Just tiring. I don't want to do
I'm
things like that again.
Yeah.
I felt almost obliged to give back to the community by doing it. I did say that to Ian when I was there, to be fair. But yeah, I was reluctant to do it in the first place. And he overcame my objections of not being able to afford to take a couple of days away by saying he'd halve the door with me, which he did dutifully. Thank you very much, Ian. But even still, I wouldn't do it again if I'm honest. But as for the presentation, it was fine. I asked Ian his opinion on it, and he was like, yeah, it could have been a bit more polished, because I did it on the fly. I basically got a whole load of notes together of what I could cover. And I thought what I'll do is I'll pick various ones out based on the audience. So if everybody in the audience is like, oh, I love your show, and they're all fans of the show, then they're going to want highly advanced argumentation put to them. And I thought, let's just gauge where they're all at. Some of them are with their partners who are disinterested. You know what I mean? Some of them are claiming they're not flat earthers but are kind of vaguely interested in the subject. Some of them are just glancing over all of us as videographers, including myself. In other words, they do know who I am, but they don't necessarily subscribe to the show daily, or they do subscribe, but they're not watching it every minute of every live stream. So there was a very broad variety of people that I was glad handing as they were, as they were arriving. So based on that, I sort of pitched what I had in my list of notes in what I thought was the most appropriate way on the fly based on the people who were there. So from that point of view, it wasn't just a sort of cookie cutter, this is my presentation and here's how I do it here like I do it everywhere else. Because I said to the organizer Ian beforehand, it's like, I haven't got a presentation. He's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, a presentation about how Earth's measured flat. And he's like, well, what's the presentation consist of? He's phoning me. That's annoying. Hold on a second. Sorry. So I said, I'll do a presentation on how Earth's measured flat. And he's like, well, what is the presentation? And I was like, well, that. As in, I'll just do what I do. It's like not difficult. I do a 4-hour show sometimes. So it's not like I've got a lack of things to talk about, which I don't. But it's more, if you're going to engage the audience and hopefully keep their attention, you've got to have a vague idea about what level they're at. Because if you're suddenly pitching things above their pay grade, or too high above their pay grade, too often, then you're going to lose the entire audience. So there was various points when I was going through complicated stuff that people, it was unfortunate, but one of the people who was joined just after I was chatting to somebody else, in other words, I was chatting to somebody and then I was introduced. So I'm then into it, but there was a couple of people who hadn't actually said, hello, my name's Nathan, what's your name? How have you come to be here, etc., etc. And that one person was obviously the partner of a keen flat earther who was listening to every word I said. But his poor wife, who was relatively elderly, you know, she was trying to look like she was paying attention because I intentionally caught her eye, which once the guy who's on the stage with the mic catches your eye to make sure you're paying attention, suddenly she's like, oh God, I'm being watched. But so there was, you know, one or two stragglers like that have been dragged there, you could tell. But I tried to pitch it so that it would engage everybody, even when I did get to some of the more advanced stuff. And there was various chunks that I intentionally left out and sort of had to think on the fly. I'll leave this out because I'm going to lose half the audience. So yeah, I think it went well. You'll get to see it. He said he'd publish it on Thursday or over the weekend, depending on if he gets time. So I think his channel, Ian's, that is Flat Earth Social. I think that's the actual name of the YouTube channel. So you'll be able to see it.
Okay, that was my next question.
That's why
So it
we
was
had no
recorded,
show
right?
for 2 days.
Yes, Neil, and that's why I'm absolutely sozzled and frazzled and knackered. Yes.
Oh, so then I have to apologize.
I almost didn't have a show today.
QE would.
Sorry, go ahead.
That,
I was
no, I
interrupting
was
you.
saying the QE flat earthers are getting sloppy, meaning that there's no show for 2 days. Adam wasn't even at QE's yesterday. Brian straggled in late.
Whatever. Yeah, I almost didn't have a show
Was
today.
there any opposition?
Say again?
Was there any opposition to your presentation?
Yeah, towards the end, during the Q&A, there was a baller that would put his position in regards to the elevation angle measurement not being a measurement of Earth. Now, by pure chance, like I say, on the fly, deciding where I'm going to pitch it, I did decide to incorporate between a rock and a hard place in the presentation, and before this guy had popped his question about whether or not I'm actually measuring Earth with an elevation angle that I'd gone through at nausea in the presentation itself. But I'd said at some point they will have to deny that it's the Earth that you're dealing with. And a baller popped up at the end, asked if the elevation angle measurement is actually of the Earth. And I'm like, yeah, you're measuring for a ground position. He's like, yeah, but you're not measuring the ground position. You're measuring the angle. I'm like, yeah, you're measuring the angle so you can get the ground position. That's what you're doing, navigation. He's like, no, it's not the Earth. It's not the ground. That line that you're measuring for the angle isn't the ground. I'm like, but it is. You're navigating the ground. It's for a ground position. Yeah, but you're not measuring the ground position. And so we went round in a couple of circles. Then I hit him with well, how do you get latitude? And he had to concede it's measured with an angle. And it's with respect to the Polaris measurement that is wrapped around the globe. So he was buggered at the end. But to be perfectly honest, I didn't necessarily anticipate it turning into a live public debate. But there we go. You deal with what you dealt with. And yeah, that was pretty much it. That was right at the end of the QA. So it was just, I was saying, any more questions, I'm going to round out. And then he was brave, stepped up, got the mic, asked his questions, was a bit rumpusy. So he was like, no, through the top of me, while I'm answering the same question 3 or 4 times and giving him multiple citations to the same question coming multiple times. So it was very much for a few minutes at least, a bit like a live flat earth debate. So yeah, there was a certain degree of opposition, and there was a certain degree of neutrality. That is, that people that there weren't necessarily engaged in the subject anyway, regardless of whether or not their best, bud or partner or wife or whatever they're there with is. So it was very, very much a mixed bag of people. Like, in terms of, they're all very acutely aware of what is going on and why they're there and who's going to be on stage. Not me personally, but someone presenting on Flat Earth. So they're all acutely aware, but they're at just wildly different stages, from extremist zealotry all the way to never really heard of it, don't really know about it, been dragged along by my mate because he told me about it, and everything in between. So diversity, in terms of Flat Earth diversity at least, was epic. It was a really, really good, diverse crowd.
Hey, Nathan, I think that's key. When they say it's not the ground, I think we should flip it on them and say, okay, so then give it to me on your spherical ground. How are you going to get these measurements on your
You're not
spherical
listening.
ground?
That's what I did. So, okay,
Yeah,
what's
I know.
latitude?
I think that's key.
Yeah, well, that is key. When you've got a zealot that's going around in circles, you have to think on your feet, and where can I take this? Well, I've already presented to the audience how at a certain point they can either deny latitude, which is wrapped around the globe, and I think his response when he was caught between a rock and a hard place was say, well, I can calculate the latitude with blah, 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 globe, globe, globe. And I interrupted him and was like, no, I'm not asking you for your calculation. I'm asking you for your measurement. He's like, well, it's measured with an angle. You're like, well, that's it. Boom. That's the end. You either deny that that's a ground measurement with respect to your globe, in which case you deny your globe, or you accept that we've got a flat Earth measurement. Much more convenient to do once you've literally explained to the audience 10 minutes previous or 15 minutes previous that that is a scenario you could be faced with, and then you're faced with it there and then.
Yeah, that's key. I got that from you. You flip it on them, and then they're lost.
Yeah, well, how do you get this measurement then? It's wrapped around your globe. Oh, I can calculate it. Yeah, with flat Earth angles that you'll measure.
Did he get it in the end?
Pardon?
Did he get it? Did he understand in the end? Or
No, he's a zealous.
happened?
No, like I said, he was at the very extreme end, as in he's travelled a long distance to argue with me. So what do you think he'd be like saying, would Rumpus get it if he was here? It makes no difference if they're in person. These people are no different in that regard. Zealotry is zealotry. So his response was to say no, no, no through the top of me. Exactly as you'd expect. Exactly the same as happened
Yeah,
here.
but once you read that citation that you always read, it's clear that it's the ground.
Yeah, while I was reading
And
it was
that's
while he was
what's
saying no, no,
crazy.
no. While I was digging out multiple citations was while he was literally rumpusing the citation. Like I say, for a brief time, it was very much familiar territory for all of us. Yeah, fun was had by all. I unfortunately didn't shake everybody's hand, as I say. Some of the people arrived slightly after I'd done that little bit. And yeah, once I'd done my bit, got my sweaty fistful of cash, I was out of there like Roadrunner, back on the road, doing a ton all the way home in clear roads. It still took an eternity because of various diversions and road closures and roadworks, but I could belt up and down quite quickly, so I sort of made a last minute decision. I'm going to go now and get on the road and hopefully get home before midnight. So I did. But my intention was to stay down there another night. So what I'd actually intended and arranged to do was stay with my folks another night. And then obviously glad hand everybody, and you know, if it ended up being 11 o'clock when everyone's turning away, I can then drive 3/4 of an hour to my folks' place, and then I wouldn't have had a show today. Plus, it wasn't really for the show, if I'm honest. I was missing my wife and kids more than I was missing the show, I've got to be honest. I do miss doing the show. I would rather be doing the show. But, you know, my main priority was actually getting home to my wife and kids. That means I'm now knackered, which is a bit unfortunate.
What's the ton in the UK? What are you referring to, the ton, when you were driving the ton?
The speed limit.
Yeah, what is it?
Just pretend that a ton means the speed limit.
Oh, okay. I've always referred to the ton as known here as 100 mile an hour, 160 kilometres an hour. I thought
here,
it's
I
going pretty
don't know where
fast,
you get that
Nathan.
idea. That does not what it means. Here it means the speed limit, and it only means the speed limit. That's what it means.
Good drive then.
Why did I slip? Why did I say that word? Oh, am I off mute? Whoops.
What are you having, a stroke?
No, I'm just playing with the idea that I didn't know I was on mute when I said, why did I say that word? Because somebody's picked up on it and it just slipped out. Which I'm now regretting.
I thought you said slur that word.
It probably will get slurred. When I get exhausted, I sound drunk. Yeah, when I've had a lack of sleep, I start to slur my words and sound like I've had a few drinks. I don't drink, I'm actually teetotal. I have been for quite some time. But nevertheless, if you want to presumably that's what drunk people sound like. I can't recall how I sounded back in the days that I did drink, but I would assume it's a bit slurry and a bit stuttery and a bit like, you know, our opponents when they're under pressure but without the pressure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I heard you I heard you drink one time and do a video, so I know exactly what you sound like.
Oh,
But,
Righteous, I'm glad that's you. I got to ask you a question. Did you ever hear that pastor? Years ago, when Flat Earth first started taking off, he was the only pastor preaching about it besides Dean Odell. I do not remember the guy's name. I don't know if you seen any videos by him. If not, I'll try to pull some up and send it to you.
We haven't
But
told him
this
who it
is a
is.
detriment to Flat Earth.
We don't know who he is if you haven't given me the vaguest idea who you're talking about.
I'm asking Righteous if he heard. It was one pastor. He was from Long Island. I'll get it in a minute. I'm driving. But let me just tell you what this guy's doing. And this is a detriment to Flat Earth. The guy's lost his marbles now. Now he's claiming to be Jesus. So this is what happens now. It is Flat Earth, and everybody's going to turn around and say, look, he turns to Flat Earth, and now he thinks he's Jesus. I don't understand what's going on with people. The guy's lost his mind.
well, I don't know what to comment on this, Neil. I mean, I don't know the person. I don't know the context. I don't know why you brought this up.
Pick
Why
it
did
up
you
for
bring
you in
this
a
up?
minute. Because you were talking about things going on and how you've got to communicate better, this, that, and the other thing. And I don't think it's that either. I think it's people. People are going to give this
Well,
a bad name.
I'm talking from the context that I've been on Discord for a long, long time, and I've been listening to people for a long, long, long time, and it's just something that I noticed.
Nathan, if you look in the Skype, there's just found this new video from
Have you watched it?
Creaky. I don't know. Oh, we did?
Have you
Oh,
watched
my
it?
bad.
Have you watched it already?
Okay, sorry.
I haven't. You've got nothing to be sorry about. I don't think you can hear what I'm saying. Have you watched it?
Oh, you're asking me, did I watch it? No, I said I just found it right now.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't like covering completely unvetted material. I'm just that bit more fussy. But thank you for passing it on. As soon as you sent it, I was like, all right, I'll scroll at Master B and see if there's anything that's been, suggested. Like, oh, this
Yeah.
would be a good thing to cover by someone else. I could have swore Tenth had dropped something in only recently, but I just can't seem to find it. Unless he sent it to me personally. I'm scrolling through Master B.
All right, real quick, Righteous. His name is Tyler Doka, Doka.
I'm not familiar with him.
When you get a chance, YouTube him, and you'll see he's one of the earliest videos, like 2017 or 18, maybe even 16. And now he thinks he's Jesus.
He thinks he's Jesus.
Well, hold on a second. What's the context? Did he say I am Christ or we are Christ? Because saying we are Christ is biblical, but to say I am Christ, that's not biblical.
No, he's God's son. He thinks he's God's son, literally Jesus. And the video yesterday, now he's got tattoos on his eyes, Alpha Omega. Righteous. The guy, hold on nothing. The guy's lost his mind.
Well, I'm just trying to hear, like, what did he say verbatim? Did he say verbatim, I am Jesus?
I'm gonna go Google him. When you got time, look him up on YouTube and you'll hear for yourself.
Well, can't you tell me what he said verbatim? What do you call the line that he said? Maybe you're taking one of his lines and misinterpreting what he said. So that's why I want to hear what he said verbatim.
Yeah,
he said he thinks he's God's son, Jesus. And he could back it up in scripture.
He can back that he's
Nathan,
Jesus in scripture. Him personally. He thinks he appears in scripture.
Yes.
Okay. Where does he appear in scripture? Pray tell. Do you know?
I listen, as a Christian, I never once thought I was Jesus. So I don't know what's going on with these people.
Okay, we got that. We got that. What chapter and verse says he's Jesus in Scripture? That's what I want to know. Let's have the chapter and verse and let's have a listen. I'm intrigued.
So would I. If I wasn't driving, I'd grab the video and do it. That's why I tried to pass it off to Righteous, but
Why
he's
be so
lazy.
how do you know he's not Jesus? And he got no answer for that.
Because Jesus was already crucified, Jesus already rose, and Jesus already ascended.
Neil, are you saying that he's saying this because he's a flat earther?
What I'm saying is, he was sound as and he's lost his
You're
mind.
breaking up right
So
at the
now
crucial
it's
moment.
going to make us look bad. Sorry.
You're saying he's there as a plant to make us look bad?
No, I don't think he's a plant. I just think he makes us look bad.
Hey, Greg. Yeah, maybe we'll find out in time, Neil, I guess.
I said I don't think he's a plant. I just think he makes us look bad.
Where's my watch? I'll put my watch on. I've got 5 minutes. I'll go and get it. People accusing me of not being married if I've not got my wedding ring on.
I only heard of one other guy that did make that claim one time in the past. He went by the name of like Father Divine or something like that. He eventually beat up scriptures, and he got to the conclusion that he was Jesus, and that if he was Jesus, he was God. And yeah, that was a mess. It was just a mess.
Was he a flat earther?
Oh, this was a while back ago. This was like in the mid 1900s, or earlier or later, somewhere around there. But yeah, he made that mistake, and it cost him. Eventually, he was like, basically, he was in the occult already. Like once you make a mistake like that, then he kept on going with it. Yeah, he wasn't a Christian anymore. Let's say that. That road did go down a dark path. But it is biblical to say we are Christ, but people might beat that up and say I am Christ. But the Bible does say we as a collective are Christ. But obviously Jesus, he's the head of the body, right? So forth and so on.
Yeah, that's different. That's not what
Yeah.
these guys are claiming.
Well, yeah, like
And I think
maybe.
what happens, right, is just God gives them up. And their mind goes, because I knew a friend of mine, he was sound, and then he thought he was Jesus. And he's a nut today.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good afternoon,
Get
guys.
it on.
Good afternoon. Good to be here. Everybody had a good few days off. Oh, okay. Well, that's a keen answer.
Yes, Nathan, we had a great time.
I think my microphone's working now.
Yes, it is, Craig. Excellent timing. Let's see how great your input is right at the beginning of this live show. How are you?
I'm good. Not sure why my button on my keyboard's not working for the mic though, but we'll have to do it manually.
That's fascinating. So fascinating right at the beginning of the live show. So I'm glad we all had a good couple of days off, because I haven't been doing the live stream for the last couple of days as I've been down in Dorset. And thanks to Ian Leahy for having me. And thank you everybody else who joined in yesterday and handed over you £5 English to sit and listen to me babbling on about flat Earth. So big shout out to all of you. Thank you very much for having me. Fun was had by all. Although I am absolutely knackered now. So aside from that, and a couple of days of not having a live stream, it was all very good. So hopefully there'll be a probably pretty rough around the edges recording of it that'll go out on the Flat Earth Social YouTube channel. So be here or be sphere in a couple of days, I'm told by the the guy who put the event on, he'll just put the, like I say, it's just from his camera phone, so don't expect any super high quality. But yeah, that'll go out on his channel in a few days' time when he gets an opportunity to upload it. If you did want to see a kind of semi idea of what it was like to be a part of it, which you probably won't get from the video. But yeah, check it out. So that's why I've had a couple of days off. But apart from being very exhausted, we're back on track, live again. Everyone's happy. Unless there's something that I'm unaware of. My hint to carry on the discussion that was in the pre-show about whether or not people are shills. Whether or not it's important.
How is Earth measured, Nathan?
Earth's measured flat, Neil.
And that's the bottom line. I don't care what shill is what. We know what the measurements are.
You there, Casey?
Sorry?
Neil's saying, how is Earth measured? And I'm answering, Earth is measured flat. And now I'm asking if you're around.
Yeah, it's too easy. I can't believe it.
Too easy. Can't believe it. Why not?
Well, the word sea level should speak volumes. It's level.
Yeah, there's a list of things that you can't say if you're a baller. I don't know the full list, but if one deck was here, he'd be rattling off his list of these are things that you just cannot say if you're a baller. All of which are in reference to planes and Earth being flat and descriptions that could only be associated with a flat plane that they have to utilise to assert that they're on a sphere. All roads lead to a flat Earth.
Yeah, they've changed the model from flat into spherical, but they haven't changed the language, which is good because words have meaning, and level still means level. Just because they have a bowl model with water attached to it, it doesn't mean anything. Level is still level.
Yeah, and deriving the ball in its claim of being something you can stand on comes from those measurements.
Yeah, it's in the language. Elevation angles.
Yeah, elevation, as in how high, with respect to surface level part of the angle that you're measuring. Yeah, it's all tied up in how Earth must be measured, and it's part of the convoluted process of getting a globe involved when you're doing these projections of maps. But somehow we're pigeonholed into having to explain the cartography of Earth. When you become a flat earther, somehow that's some charge that you have to accept. All right, I'm now responsible for cartography. Am I? Why? Isn't there a massive deception to convince us that we've projected the world we measured flat onto a ball and then back out onto a cylinder and back out flat so we can call it the world with a square grid on it? Well, why does that distorted nonsense gaggle screw of mapping somehow become my responsibility when I point out that it's a nonsense and that it's only a flat map because that's how it must function with the angle measurements and that's its origins in the first instance? Somehow I've got to come up with a good map for you. Like, go to the people who've produced the maps and tell them how wrong they are. Why would I suddenly have the charge of cartography just because I've appreciated where the distortions are in the maps? Suddenly I've got to make one. No. I can point floor out all I like and I've got absolutely no obligation to suddenly come up with a replacement. That's the main problem with flat earthers. They think that the straw men feast of nonsense arguments that they get presented every day are somehow their responsibility to satisfy with an answer. Just because you're being told that you've got an ice wall or asked why a boat disappears over the horizon doesn't mean it's in any way your burden to satisfy. When you start recognising that at the tip of the spear in this discussion, you realise that debating with somebody about what they've told you believe the world is, merely so they can beg the question of Earth being sphere-shaped in their side of their false dichotomy that they must have you make a claim about, and if you don't make one, they'll give you one. Here's your straw man Earth that's flat that you adhere to if you say those words. Now let's stack that up against my begging the question fallacy of a sphere Earth that we'll assume is the case when we start making examples that assume we're on a sphere, and we'll see which one works out best. Meanwhile, nobody from my recollection, I'm not drunk by the way, I'm just tired, is claiming anything about the horizon. When it came to flat Earth up until the last 2 or 3 years, we didn't have a positive claim about the horizon. In recent times we have. It's got sod all to do with my boats disappear. My point is, why defend a claim that you're not making? It just means you give them an opening to stack it up in false dichotomy with their begging the question fallacy. The antithesis of that, the pinnacle of that, rather, is the final experiment. Shout out to Quantum Eraser who pointed out something I hadn't picked up on. So what I've been describing the final experiment is as a begging the question fallacy, which is masked by an affirming the consequent fallacy, which is also masked by a false dichotomy fallacy. Now pause, because that's where QE's interjection comes. Now that is strictly correct, but I've missed a slight nuance that QE said that I hadn't picked up on until he said it yesterday on his show. So check out QE's Quantum Eraser live stream from last night. It was really good. And one of the things he said was, it's not just one affirming the consequent fallacy. That's if Earth's a sphere by antipodal assumption, we'll observe a 24-hour sun. We observe a 24-hour sun, therefore Earth is a sphere by antipodal assumption. There's a further affirming the consequent, which is what I've just been describing as a false dichotomy with a globe Earth stacked up against a flat Earth. Well, no, the flat Earth has a affirming the consequent also. Yeah? If Earth's flat, we won't see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica. We don't see 24 hours. We don't see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica. Therefore, Earth is flat. And the contrapositive can exist on both sides of the false dichotomy. So it's actually two false dichotomies. Sorry, I keep saying false dichotomy. It's two affirming the consequent fallacies side by side, aka a false dichotomy. But not just one, not just if Earth is a sphere by antipodal assumption, then 24-hour sun, 24-hour sun, therefore Earth a sphere by antipodal assumption. It's also the flat Earth on the other side of the false dichotomy that's got the same exact if P then Q, Q therefore P statement attached to it. So shout out to you, QE. I hadn't recognised that, and it's so obvious now you've said it. Anybody else catch QE's show last night?
I hate that. You're
breaking up now.
But I
Bloody hellfire. Anybody else see QE's show last night?
Sorry.
Don't leave me hanging. Surely one of you watched.
I was on it.
Oh, hello, Flatsy. Yes, you were indeed on it. Yeah, you were. Who was very rude to you at one point.
What's new?
Were you just a bit vague about a particular individual, and he was really sarcastic about it? I mean, he was right, but that's how QE gets away with it, isn't it? Cheeky sod.
Yeah. I shouldn't have been so vague.
Yeah, it's a good show. I enjoyed it. I didn't actually watch it live. As I arrived home, I turned it on and it was still streaming. So I'm like, oh, there's something gone wrong here. So my first action, as soon as I walked through the door most, was to tell QE, your stream's still running when you think you've ended it. So he had like 5 minutes of black screen at the end. So then I went back and watched it. Or at least a good chunk of it. Maybe the first hour and 10, 20, something like that. I know it was a lot longer than that.
Yeah, another thing that we went over that was pretty significant is that they're attributing flat Earth with the AE map. So that we simplified it even further down to they're trying to debunk like a globe with another globe, pretty much.
Or I actually say it the other way around. So while, yes, the azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe is a globe projection, but the orientation of those rings is still derived from a north and south angle measurement of points in the sky, aka flat plane required, antipodal or otherwise. Now, that projection, when it's a azimuthal projection, projects the south out in such a vastly distorted way that it even creates what is we are led to believe is an island called Antarctica around the outside edge, because it's North Pole centric. Well, the South Point in a separate system that's been made and created with angles off a flat plane, same as the North has. You can't project to the very outside ring without massive distortions of everything, which is what you get. That's why you get Antarctica as an outside edge ring, because that's the only thing you can do if you're plotting the North Pole centric system as accurately as they would allow us to have, it would seem, with various different time distortions, but also a south system which would be separate and on a separate circle around the outside ring of the original North Pole system. I mean, it's a right cluster screw. But they're now suggesting that the azimuthal equidistant projection, as described by me in its distorted garbage manner, is actually the world that we all adhere to, therefore representative of a flat Earth. But I would still ultimately suggest that in order to create an azimuthal equidistant projection, you need those concentric rings. Projecting them to the outside edge or North Pole centric semi-accurate doesn't alter the fact that those are all rings coming from flat Earth measurements, regardless of how messed up you can project it. So to say that they're both it's a globe versus a globe, I would say, with a little bit of explanation as I've just given, that it's the other way around. The globe comes from flat Earth angle measurements, and so does the azimuthal equidistant projection. The fact that there's a globe in between, getting from flat Earth angle measurements for two concentric circle-based systems, north and south, to a globe, to the azimuthal equidistant projection, as opposed to the circles being projected just around the globe through the equatorial plane with the celestial sphere around them. But both of those are flat systems. So it's a flat Earth originating system in the form of a globe-shaped model, and a flat Earth originating system in the form of a globe projected onto a azimuthal equidistant system. But they're both originating in flat Earth, not globe. So I would have given my two pennyworth if I'd have heard that and I was there. Unfortunately, I wasn't, to keep you all in line. So Huey had the run of the roost on his own show. I mean, it's only reasonable, I suppose. $70 people watching. Woohoo! Please share the show. The only reason we've got 70 people watching is because there's a fair few people who share the show regularly. As a consequence, we've got 70 people. So very warm welcome if you've just joined us. We haven't long been streaming. But if you haven't shared the show, please smash the share button. It's only a couple of links. And you've got your link to this show on Bebo or MySpace or whatever it is you like. Also, shout out to Goldie, who's gifted a membership. Thank you very much indeed for all this support, Goldie. I really appreciate it. Not that you're not supportive anyway, about as long-standing as they come, but thank you for gifting out all these memberships. Any other news?
I didn't get one.
Oh, sorry, Neil. Any other news? Anything else happened over the last couple of days, and indeed the weekend? Wow. This has been really dead then. Hey, One Deck. One Deck got a mention.
Not really. It hasn't been that dead. You know, the ballers have come in the last couple of days. But I couldn't say what happened. The person that engaged with them was Righteous Force, so he's not here. But it had some movement of ballers again.
Okay. Anything exciting?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, then don't, I guess.
I can tell you.
Well,
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to engage with them. I was muted several times. I gave up. I just moved on with my life, you know. I don't have time to be engaging with these people, mainly if I'm being muted. You know, when you have a glober telling a flat earther that the horizon doesn't rise to eye levels, I mean, what can I say? The baller is right.
What can you say? The ball is right.
The baller saying that the horizon doesn't rise to a
You're
high
saying
level.
you agree.
Yeah, he's right.
You agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So And? You agree, yes, and you're correct too. But, and further to that, why would you get muted after that?
Yeah, because someone here was saying that it does rise.
I see. So what you're saying is, there's a flatty that wants to argue that the horizon does rise to eye level, and there's a baller that's saying it doesn't. And because you're saying, no, I agree with the baller, the moderator's chosen to allow the incorrect flat earther to make his argument in favour of yours. Therefore, you got muted, correct?
You got it.
And where was this? When did this happen? Where and when?
Here during the weekend.
Sorry, say that again.
It happened here on the FED yesterday and the day before, at least.
Anyway, did you take this up with Righteous? I was just scanning through the Discord server to see if he's here, but he's not. Did you take it up
The man himself.
Did you take it up with Righteous?
Yeah, it was with him. He's the man.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Righteous is the one that muted him.
Oh, really? It's his server.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Well, I'm not getting involved in this. Although I have literally just put it out on a live stream. Some dissension in the Discord ranks, it would seem. I think they got to him. Is he the Borg now?
No, it says that he's due to perspective. I understand what he is trying to say, but in reality, the horizon is surface level. The surface level stays at surface level, doesn't rise.
Yeah, the surface doesn't rise, you rise, and your resolution loss decreases. That is to say, you increase the resolution as you increase the angle to the surface so you can see further. But the surface itself is still below you, and increasingly below you as you raise. And the surface is what's forming the horizon. Therefore, to say the horizon, which is formed with the surface, is raising with you, is as stupid as saying the surface rises with you. It doesn't. I mean, it can be perceivably rising with you as your resolution loss decreases. That is, you increase resolution as you widen your angle with altitude. But that's all you're doing. It doesn't mean that the surface rises up with you. The surface is always below you.
Yeah, we travel on the surface mainly.
Yeah. And what is that surface called again, George? Surface what now?
Surface level.
Surface level? Oh, right. Yeah, it's a fundamental premise that everybody's using, even if they're on a ball. Outrageous, really. So there's somebody emptying out
He's been in
bins.
our face all along. He's been in our face all along. Sea level, it's a measurement of how the earth behaves or how the water behaves. It should speak volumes on its own.
Well, most of the prerequisite flat earth measurements that have been utilised over the years to claim ball, including parallel eye level and surface level, slipped us by initially, didn't they? So, you know, the fact that they were so brazen as to use all of these flat earth measurements in their arguments, we didn't notice. I mean, it seems so obvious now we're pointing it out, but literally, we didn't notice initially. We just let them use surface level to derive the curve that they're claiming in orthographic view is the physical hill blocking your view. But we didn't spot that they're using surface level to do it, did we? Shout out to TVH. Hello, Nathan. We all miss you. Oh, thank you. It felt like you were gone for too long. Oh, this is so heartfelt. Thank you. Now you are back. It feels fantastic, Mr. Legend. I'm blushing, TVH. Thank you so much for the kind words. I'll give you a little heart. Thank you very much for the super chat. And the sentiment. We may cover a video tomorrow. There's a suggestion of a video that we could cover, but it was completely unwatched by Mush. So he suggested a video he'd just come across that's calling me and various other people frauds. But if he's not actually vetted it and watched it himself, I'm like too fussy these days. So it's going to be a catch-up show where we catch up with what's going on over the last few days. One Deck, are you there yet? Joined and buggered off.
Yeah, Nathan, I am. Nathan, I'm
Yeah, you're breaking up either
driving.
way. You're breaking up, One Deck. When
Yeah,
you get a
okay.
second, when you're free, we'll get your list as it was discussed in the pre-show. A couple of people got
Yeah, I should be able to give you. I'll be pulling up in 10, 15 minutes, so I'll give you a shout.
Okay, perfect. So yesterday, when I was glad handing the participants, I had several mentions of people who are on the show with their specific things that they've done. Well, so I say several, it was two. One Deck and Brian got mentions by a couple of different people in terms of what they say. One of the things that was specifically mentioned was One Deck's list of things that ballers can't say. So that was brought up to me in person. And pitch data. So one of the participants was a pilot. Should I mention which? I won't say which airline because he might not want that out. In any event, he was a pilot and explaining various different aspects of his piloting. And one of the things I asked him was if you were to just start talking about the subject that you're interested in now when you were a pilot, would that have been frowned upon or would you have got sacked? And he said yes. I mean, he wasn't quite as concise as that, but he basically said yes. And the reason he gave was because the perception of any airliner is that you sort of uphold the squeaky clean image of the airline, and engaging in things, regardless of if they're right or wrong, like Flat Earth, is just frowned upon generally, or perceived to be frowned upon, therefore would be frowned upon if you were to do it or engage with it as a pilot. Therefore, yes, you would ultimately lose your job over something like that. If it suddenly leaves whatever the airline is in a questionable light, because they're having questions like this posed around what is just a business, right? So yeah, he was quite upfront about the fact that no, you wouldn't be wanting to talk about this subject if you're a pilot in any way, shape, or form. It could definitely result in you losing your job. So I thought that was interesting. But a different chap as well was keen to mention about pitch data. And the one was very, very keen to say that, look, Brian's really, really onto something here. You need to focus on this. It's as important as elevation angles and celestial navigation and black swan. And I'm adding that. He didn't say that, but I'm sort of stressing it in the way that he was keen to make me know that Brian's onto something with this. So I actually chatted with him about Brian earlier this morning. So yeah, just interesting. And the guy I was talking to wouldn't take it when I fobbed him off either. So he's like, yeah, this pitch data, Brian's really onto something with this. I'm like, yeah, it's a really good proof. Yeah, really excellent. And he was like, looked me in the eyes like, no, you need to give this more focus. In other words, he let me know that me just saying, oh yeah, it's a wonderful argument wasn't quite enough. The point hadn't been made satisfactorily to the standard of the guy that was saying this to me. Although Brian didn't gloat about it, much to, I'm sure, Brian's delight. As it's something he's very much been focused in on at the moment. Another shout out to Goldie for the super chat. She says, can we expect new Omi TV sometime soon? I arrived late. Sorry if you already said. No, I haven't said anything about it. I did it heavy and fast and sort of burned the candle at both ends initially, Goldie. So I have no intention of doing that on a non-stop basis. But yes, there will inevitably be more of them. It's just not going to be what I've done to sort of develop them as a standard that I've got on the channel. by pumping out quite a few back to back. Even then, I left days in between each session. But no, I'm not going to do them to that degree. But yes, you'll definitely get more OME videos. I just don't know when. As I'm absolutely exhausted, it won't be tonight, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying them. You leave lots and lots of positive comments on every single one of them, Goldie, and I really appreciate them. The positive comments and the response that is generally the same across the board. There's tiny 1% exception to that. But yeah, there's nothing but positivity about the OMI videos, and I'll definitely produce more of them. So yeah, look out for those. Thanks for the super chat. What else? We're only halfway through the live stream. Must be other things that we need to chat about. Other than, yeah, Brian and his response that he was getting from the audience. He's obviously making his impact, which is good. Another guy was really, really knowledgeable about all the arguments. So there was one guy that I'd call like a super fan or whatever. He like knew every argument. And I was discussing various arguments on the exact same level as him. He and I were on a similar level till we got to the slope-intercept formula. And he started rattling it off to me. And I thought, I'm not actually that well versed in this argument. You know, this is one of QE's that I've heard 6 times, but it hasn't been the full 10 yet. And he knew it better than I did. And I even said to him, I was like, I'm a little bit intimidated here. You know these arguments better than I do. So, with a smile, you know, it really did raise a wry smile while this guy was, like I say, in one particular aspect of this argument, more advanced than me. I was a little bit taken aback, and he's a very unassuming guy. Adam knows him. He's been out on the road with Adam, actually. I'll see if Adam can jog my memory as his name, because I can't remember his name. Bugger, he was the first guy I spoke to as well. But nevertheless, it might have been Brian or Barry or something like that. Nevertheless, yeah, there was people there with exceptional understanding of these arguments. Or at least one.
Nathan.
Yes.
We don't go over that enough, and we should.
Say again.
We don't go over slope-a-dope enough.
We don't go over slope-a-dope. That's the slope-intercept formula. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, we don't. Because, you know, it's one of those arguments that, while I do understand the argument, I get the principle. I haven't heard it enough times for me to incorporate it into my repertoire. And it's not that I haven't given it attention or don't think it's a good argument. It's just hasn't become part of the repertoire. So yes, you're absolutely correct. We should cover it more. But I'm not. I wouldn't be sufficient in doing that. That's my point. That guy in that, if that subject had come up, I'd have been better off dragging him up on stage to do that bit of the presentation. Do you know what I mean? So in that respect, we need. Hopefully, QE will join the show and do it on this show with me. You know what I mean?
I agree, because I understand it when QE's breaking it down, but I can't argue with it. Just enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's more meat on that bone.
Sorry for the long pauses. There's, for whatever reason, there's a whole bunch of bins being emptied right outside my window. It's like it's a non-stop stream of bins, wheelie bins going past, making an absolute horrendous noise. So, my bad. But yeah, there's going to be a couple of videos to catch up on once they've been vetted, and we'll do that tomorrow. And like I say, today will be a catch-up show. Is there any individuals that needed addressing that have brought things up in the last 4 or 5 days? No direct responses. Nothing about Antarctica. Has it really been a slow last few days then?
I'm sick of Antarctica.
Well, we've covered it till we're blue in the face. It's an affirming the consequent fallacy. There's nothing more we can do about it. We've called it for not being science. Brian's attitude, I discussed this also with Brian earlier today. In regards to, this isn't a new opinion, by the way, he's already said this plenty of times. The whole it's not science is a red herring. You know, the main objective is to get us tied down to a straw man flat earth model for the false dichotomy. And so long as that happens, once there's people down in Antarctica, regardless of the outcome, you've got two people both holding and affirming the consequent fallacy. One with a straw man model that we've told is our flat Earth, actually a globe projection derived from flat Earth measurements, and their version, which is also a globe derived from flat Earth measurements. So the whole, look, this isn't an experiment thing. Brian's of the opinion, and I'm probably inclined to agree with him, that's the red herring that just there to chase down. Does anybody know, I found this out the other day, where the term red herring comes from? From fox hunting. So what they do to train the dogs is you want to keep the dog on the scent of the fox. So in order to train them, they drag red herrings, which have got a particular scent, across the track that they want the dog trained in. So they collect, as disgusting as this sounds, foxes and fox urine, and they basically will drag that along behind someone at the front of the pack when they're training the dogs to create a scent trail, and then they'll drag red herring across the trail to a different location so that the dogs don't follow the wrong trail. They stick to the trail and ignore the other strong scents, right? Make sense? And then if they're actually on a hunt and they go, one of the dogs happens to display that behavior, that is to say, follows the wrong scent, the huntsman would say he's following a red herring. Make sense? That's where you get the sort of etymological reasoning behind calling it a red herring fallacy. Following along a track that's not the track you're supposed to be on. They've tossed a red herring into the argument that's not related for you to chase down. Make sense? Learn something new every day. Fascinating stuff.
Indeed.
One of the other things I was talking to one of the guests about was my kind of conflict of interest that stands in 2024 with the Black Swan. I can't remember which particular guest I was discussing this with. I tried to glad hand everybody. But yeah, there's a bit of a conflict of interest, which I've been aware of. It's just never been verbally discussed with anybody before, which is to say that the premise that is a foundation, don't get me wrong, we wouldn't be where we were, sounding drunk again, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the Black Swan putting down the foundation that debunks their original assertion of an Earth curve edge horizon. Once you've eradicated that, you can move on, and celestial navigation then sits on top of that, because they're always going to have their positive claim. It's always going to need overcoming. And if you haven't, you can't move forward. So it's foundational. Just want to get that out of the way first. But it is in contravention to my stance, which is to say that on the front foot, we should move forward with our positive claim of Earth being measured flat. Well, the Black Swan is in direct contradiction of that. It's a modus tollens that starts with their assumption of Earth being a sphere. So it literally, to start with the Black Swan is to beg your opponent's position for them, to then undo it, admittedly. But as we all are aware, if we have a good understanding of the Black Swan, it's not a flat Earth proof. You can utilise it to, employ an extra step after the Black Swan. There is a condition that has not been met, which leaves you with only one possible outcome in terms of the Earth and its flatness, if there is no curvature, as asserted. Then your alternative is the derivation and the maths, and you can infer that after the Black Swan in regards to Earth being flat. But you can't directly suggest that the Black Swan itself, in the form it takes with modus tollens, is a flat Earth proof. It isn't. It's a debunking of the assertion in the first instance in the P statement, if Earth's a sphere. Well, me saying if we're going to move forward as debaters on the front foot, proactively in this arena, flat Earth versus globe Earth, as it's perceived, there isn't really a debate, then we are on the front foot if we are suggesting our positive claim to our opponent. Earth is measured flat. Not, if Earth was a sphere, we would be seeing a distance to horizon as x, and we're not seeing the distance to horizon as x, therefore Earth isn't a sphere, by pure logical inference after showing that it can't be. But if it's not a sphere as asserted, and we have no Earth curve edge, it can only be the flat Earth that's used to measure and infer that with the calculations, therefore Earth is flat. added on as an inference after the fact. Very different to just saying Earth's measured flat. Because it is. And everyone requires it to be. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just a bigger ball. It's still a sphere, though. Locally flat.
I don't know why Jaron and Dave Weiss have taken this position, but it does sound very shilly, as regardless of whether or not I see them as being shills or just average Joes, and regardless of anybody else's perception of Jaron and Dave Weiss and anybody else for that matter, that's punting our current opponent rhetoric. Right, if Earth is measured flat, but I need to assume it's a ball, then you can suggest that yes, we measure Earth flat, but only because it's a really big ball. End quote, baller. What do I currently tell my audience? Just pay attention to what they've actually just told you. Earth is measured flat, but I can still believe in my zealotry religion of a globe Earth that isn't being measured when we measure it flat and assume it's a big ball, saith the Globers. So when Jaron and Whitsitt and David Weiss say could be a really big ball, geocentric Earth with ether, okay, so you're just supporting and affirming our opponent's position. If you ever wanted to sound like controlled opposition, that's how you go about it. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that it sounds and seems very shilly when the people who are supposed to be at the forefront of flat Earth are telling you, like our opponents tell us, that it could be a big ball with Home Depots all around it. What Home Depots that are measured flat? So there's no useful ball being measured, just an assumption after measuring Earth flat then. Like the Home Depot surface is definitely being measured and built flat. Yeah, that's the bit that's measured though, isn't it? So why would Jaron, a flat earther, need to tell his audience that we're on a big ball? Well, like I say, I'm not inferring that he is a shill, but that's very shilly. Let's be honest. He's telling you what the opponents tell us. It's just a really big ball. It's okay to measure flat. Because it's a really big ball, we wouldn't need to measure it ball-shaped. We can measure it flat. It just means it's a big ball, I assume. Says Jaron and Dave. What the hell?
Hey, Nathan.
Hello, One Deck.
It's worse than that. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Just saying, even when they get to explain how it's measured flat, they will be using flat Earth measurement words, which I'm not allowing them to do now.
What would those words be?
Well, I've got a little note. I read to them, and then I see where it goes. And this is the note. It's 24 words, not allowed to be used when explaining how Earth curve is measured. Sea level, horizon, horizontal, parallel, plumb, perpendicular, elevation, angles, triangles, sea sextant, theodolite, spirit level, altitude, vertical, tangent, straight line, up, down, plane, and flat. 24 words, and that's that. You can't use these unless you're explaining flat.
Right.
You need to add more.
They violate
Ground
everyone.
position. Yeah, I need to put ground position, not just GP, because the GP comes on the almanac. Yeah, you know the ground position of the stars because it's in the almanac. At this time of the day, this is the ground position. X marks the spot. Longitude, latitude. Yeah, you need to put that there as well.
Yeah, we can have that one, George. No problem.
So ground position is geographical position, correct?
Yes. Shout out
Obviously.
to LJ. Says, why don't you get on modern day debate? Good exposure. Because I run my own debate show, LJ.
Thing is, Nathan, as well.
Thank you for the super chat.
Modern day debate is for a bunch of losers.
I can't hear. There is literally, this is about the 6th wheelie bin that has gone by me when there's only 2 next to me. I'm almost tempted to lean out the window and go, what the hell are you doing constantly wheeling wheelie bins back and forth?
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Do it.
Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, Ian. Thanks for having me yesterday.
No, fuck off. I'm really pissed off with that text you sent me. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you writing to me, fucking saying all that for? Seriously. Why? Because what, Nathan? Because I 2 Globers snuck in, which we've never seen before. They went to the back, and when it was question time, they had the mic for 30 seconds longer than you wanted them to at my place.
Let me get it
You
straight.
don't
Have you
dictate what goes on. And then also, Nathan,
have you
stop,
joined a
please.
live stream to moan at me about a gripe I had with the way that you run your show? You've joined my live show to moan at me about this, correct?
Yeah, you called me a shill. You called me.
I did not say you were a shill. Now you're lying on my live show about what I've said.
Well, do you want?
So you're airing this gripe that I've had with you on a live stream and telling me how pissed off you are to my audience. What are you doing? Why are you here? If you want to discuss a gripe with me that I've had with you, you can do it with me in private. You don't need to join my live stream and rumpus the living crap out of me. What are you doing?
Live stream because you.
Why are you rumpusing me? You're not listening to me. You're talking through me like you run this show, like you failed to run your show adequately. Now I'm going to moan at you about that in private, but if you're going to join my live stream and try and take over and chant through me, I'm not going to allow that to happen, Ian. You can either listen to what I'm telling you or get lost. You're not going to just chant through me. I'm still talking.
Do I get a chance to
I'm still talking and I run this show, Ian.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be disrespectful when I run the show. Just because you were incapable of running your event to a satisfactory standard that I moaned about doesn't mean you get to come on my live show and moan at me about how I've moaned at you. If you want to discuss it with me in private, you're welcome to. What the hell are you doing coming on my live stream bitching and moaning about how I've bleated to you about something you're inadequate doing? That's something I discussed with you in private. What are you doing here?
You removed me from the group, you belly.
You've got my private Skype information. You can discuss this with me in private. What are you doing, man?
Because I don't think you have the right to tell me what the fuck you told.
I am telling you whatever the hell I like in private, and you've joined my live show to air your dirty laundry here. What are you playing at, man? Yeah?
The fact you removed me from the groups is the reason I'm here, okay? Otherwise,
I don't care. You can bleat and plead your case about my group that I'll remove whoever the hell I like from in private.
Really?
Yeah, I'll do as I damn well please. It's my bleeding group. Like you can do what you please with your group when you're hosting. You're in charge of that group yesterday, and you can do as you please as you did. Now, as you took charge, I moaned about how you were inadequate in your charge of your group. Now, what I do with my group is my bleeding responsibility, not yours. Now, if you want to bleat about this, you can do it in private, not on my bloody live show.
How do I do it in private, Nathan?
You can do it in private. That's not on a live stream. That means get lost and contact me in private.
I won't be.
Don't stutter on my live show. How dare you come on my live show? Because I've moaned at you in private about your inadequacies. Yeah, I have. Yeah, your failures got moaned at and displeased me greatly. Now you want my live audience to know how much you've displeased me that I told you in private? Yes, you have displeased me with your crappy behaviour and how you run your event. And yes, I did moan about it. Yeah, and I will. I've got every right to, being put to great inconvenience by you. So yeah, I'll moan about it all I bleeding like on my show. No, I didn't intend to. I've had nothing but good words to say about you. I had nothing but positivity, and now you've come and bleated at me because I've had a little gripe at you. Yeah, I have.
Tell them, Nathan, about the shill calling me a shill.
Is it just me, G plus panel? Is it just me, G plus panel, or are you not hearing what I'm saying?
I'm trying to talk through you.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. So you're going to disrespect me on my own bleeding show now?
Kick him the fuck out.
Excuse me, why are you disrespecting me on my own bleeding show? Yes, you can take charge of what you want to do in your event. This is not that anymore, you disrespectful little man. How dare you?
How dare you fucking write to me?
Don't swear at me. Right, you're getting lost. How dare you? Come here bleating because I've had a little gripe about how crap you are. What a bleeding outrage. I had nothing but good comments to say to this audience. Did anybody get any impression that I had anything but positivity about the event that had just taken place in up until that point?
No, everything was good, but I understand what's going on.
Well, I raised a concern with him. And when his answer to my concern was not in the slightest bit apologetic, I was like, oh, sod this. Well, I'm not in the slightest bit inclined to badmouth people when they've treated me with a bit of disrespect. I'll just moan at them personally. Is this asshole literally now calling me on my phone while I'm running a bleeding live show? That man has absolutely no respect, does he?
Who is it?
So you removed him from G Plus because that's something he should have done personally. I understand everything that's going on.
Yeah. I don't want to discuss these issues with him in a group that I'm running to run my live stream from, to invite people to join from. Absolutely not. Given that he was removed from the group, I'm not exactly entirely sure how he's managed to make his way onto this stream. How did he get the link? Seriously, how did he get the link?
Well, he got on G Plus or he came in Discord?
He's come on G+. He's just come on G+. He's moaning that he's been removed from a group and it's the only place I shared the link. How the hell did he get in here?
Somebody gave it to him.
All right, I see. So my group that I manage because it's mine and I'll control it isn't being controlled by me. Someone else is handing out links to people who've been removed from the group, who then come in and shout and swear at me. Oh, what a shock.
Nathan, there may still be an access to G Plus through Element, so you better check that out.
All right. I don't think so. I share the link, Neil. I only share it in Master B. That's the only place it goes. Anyway, what turned into a very positive description of what took place yesterday, which it was. Again, I can't quite believe this has happened. I had a minor gripe about an aspect of the show and the way it was run, which I've aired my grievances, put them to him, he's responded, I've responded back, then I've got on with my show. The last thing you expect is, right, you've moaned at me for something. Oh, well, I'm going to discuss this moan you've got with me on your live show. What a prick! I cannot believe that's just happened. I am slightly gobsmacked.
I mean, I don't know.
He came in to tell you off.
I mean, I don't know what's happening. It's none of my business. But is this to do the social event that you did, Nathan?
Yeah, which I had nothing but positivity until this moment. Yes, I've got a moan privately with the event organizer, which I'm absolutely entitled to have privately with the event organizer. If I find something that displeases me, I'm going to bloody air it. Absolutely. Does it mean the event didn't go well? No. Did it mean that I didn't enjoy meeting everybody there? No.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a bit of positive criticism, is there, in anything?
Unless you can't handle it. And that seems to be Ian's problem.
Whatever, I don't care. Yeah, like I say, these things aren't worth the aggravation. This is what you get. This is what you get. This is the kind of aggravation you get. Like, no, it's a massive inconvenience to do it. I've got people who actually care about you lot moaning at me that they've not got what they support me to produce. And then you get the guy who's organised it coming on your live show moaning because you've had a gripe with them. Yeah, I've got a right to have a gripe with you.
Nathan, did you disrespect his show at any point yesterday?
What do you mean?
Whenever it was? Well, he just seemed to totally come on your show and disrespect the whole live show.
Yes. No, I did not do that. No, I respected his guests and the authority he had to run the show however he chose, and I dealt with it as it came. After the fact, privately, there was an aspect that I didn't particularly like and moaned about it. What I did not expect was the reaction that, oh, well, I'm going to come on your live stream and say, how dare you have a criticism. Oh, get lost. No wonder I didn't really want to do it in the first place.
Yeah, he should have dealt with that positive criticism there and then.
Exactly. And in life, when you're doubting something, don't do it.
No, I don't regret doing it. Don't give the wrong idea. I don't regret it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting the people. I enjoyed talking to every single one of them. I sat down with the majority of them, 80% at least, before the event, and welcomed them, found out their story, found out their name, and then joked that I would pick on them when I was doing a presentation, which I didn't do with any of them. So, the actual meeting and greeting, the main reason I agreed to do it in the first place is because so many people support me, and you feel I should be supporting a community that I'm a part of by giving back and letting people actually have the ability to come and meet me in person. If they've given me this much support, then that, the one or two people that are big fans of the show that were there, it would have meant a lot to them. One guy came up to me and wanted a photograph with me. You're like, what? You want a photo? Fine. Yeah, if you want a photo with me, that's absolutely fine. But, that obviously is something that guy wants. He wants to be in my company to have a photograph. It meant something to him. And I'm glad that I could give that to that guy and anybody else who felt the same way. For the majority of them, they're kind of indifferent. It doesn't matter if it's me or the next man in line. You know what I mean? But for the small percentage of people that are like, no, I am really keen to go and actually shake your hand and say I've met you, you're like, glad you had that opportunity. So it's no regrets as much as I'm sure as much as these things happen in the moment, and I'm moaning about it happening on a live stream, these things happen amongst us, and Ian is, let's face it, one of us. So here we go again. I'm sure it'll get ironed out, and I'm pretty exhausted. So my disdain and over-exaggeration of my furious rage about this is probably a bit over-dramatic. But nevertheless, I'm just knackered. So these things will sort themselves out. And the overall experience was extremely positive, regardless of him taking the ump with me having a gripe. But nevertheless, these things happen.
Now, what I'm saying is, if something's in the back of your mind saying, yeah, I really don't want to do this, then you should go with the first gut instinct.
Well, I told him that.
That's
I
what
told him I
learned
didn't
in
want to
life.
do it. I said I don't want to do it. And what I used an excuse because he's a friendly, and you're like, oh, if I just give an excuse, he'll get the hint. I'm like, look, I can't. I say it's an excuse, and it's absolutely true. I was like, I can't afford to not do my live stream as much as, it is the case that, Sensual Goat gifting out 5 memberships is why I run the live stream. As much as it might sound mercenary, I need the money. So I have to, first and foremost, keep the lights on. So therefore, taking time out and driving down to Dorset wasn't really something I wanted to do, and I made that absolutely clear. But given that it was a financial objection, being offered a cut of the door to cover my expenses and petrol and so on and so forth, and he even covered a hotel that I didn't stay in. I saved my parents, and he gave me the money that he would have inevitably have paid for me to stay in a hotel there. So, it's not like he wasn't very generous in terms of making it not a financial loss, which is great. It meant that I could do it without going, God, this is going to be a burden financially. It wasn't. But after he overcame that objection, it's like, well, okay, you've actually overcome the objection that I've given you. So I do kind of feel obliged to give back to the community in that way. I don't often do it. So there, I've done it, and I'm glad I did. So I'm glad it hasn't been a financial detriment. It's only of time detriment and show detriment. But would I do it again? That was a bit negative before he joined the show. Would I do it again? No, I would be reluctant to do it again. Not because of this, don't get me wrong. I've obviously rubbed Ian the wrong way with my message. And fair enough, it's something that he's doing his personal baby, it's his project, and here's me having a moan. So, I can understand his disdain. I often have the same attitude. But by the same token, it's like, even if that wasn't the case, I'd still be like, I just didn't enjoy doing it. In terms of the amount of aggravation, the amount of driving, the amount of effort and physical and mental input producing a presentation, producing a load of slides for the presentation, and the mental energy that goes into actually doing the glad handing and saying hello to everybody, finding out their name and their history in flat earth and their best arguments that they want to tell you all about and their debates that they've had in past history. And, all of that is mentally exhausting. And literally, I don't have the time to do it or the financial resources to be capable of doing it in a way that would be fun. It's not nice asking the event organizer to pay you to do it. It's just so you've got enough revenue to cover the fuel costs and things like that. But that's how it's worked out. Now, I didn't enjoy that particular part of it. The best bit of it was actually meeting people, finding out their story. The bit that's all of the energy goes into to just do that one bit, as mentally exhausting as that in itself is as well. That's the actual enjoyment bit, isn't it? The actual meeting the people who were all lovely and all wanted to, keenly listen to what I had said. You feel privileged to be able to do it. So from that aspect, it's definitely a good experience. And I hope That was my first thing that I went through with Ian. I'm like, did they all enjoy it? You know, what was the reaction? What was the guest's reaction? Did they like it? And after I got it clear when the video was going to be coming out and what the reactions were like, then I moaned. You know. But like I say, I had no intention of any of this making it to a live stream.
Yeah, that's very bad business. Sorry. Lost a lot of respect for the man.
Yeah, me too. But there we go. Such is life. Anyway, 105 people watching, lots of people getting free memberships.
In this arena, you need some thick skin. If you don't got thick skin, then get the hell out.
Maybe. I don't want to have thick skin. I'm a very delicate flower.
Well, that's the problem. Delicate flowers, they don't last.
Maybe. Well,
if you
I
can't
did have
stand the heat, you shouldn't work in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's another good place.
Either way, there's always going to be a certain amount of kitchen management, isn't there? Sometimes you have to shout at the chef.
Exactly, Nathan. You're the guy. Who's that guy that runs the show? You're the Gordon Ramsay of flat Earth.
Maybe.
Isn't that nice?
Well, I don't know. People don't see that demeanour when I'm not dealing with fundamentalist zealotry. You only see that side that people think is a bad Gordon Ramsay-ish side when you're getting chanted through, etc., etc. Shout out to the Flat Earth Truth, donating just because the Earth is measured flat. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Who's buying me a membership today? I'm naked here.
Ugh. Got my panel members e-begging for memberships. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shortly round out this live stream and then I'm going to have a very short after show and then get some rest, I think.
I was just going to say, get some rest today and tomorrow everything will be fine.
This is just
It'll still be a bitch, but it'll be fine.
It's just another day, Neil. This is all par for the course.
Just to go back on them words again, Nathan, I was just trying to explain. It is quite interesting because I'm really enjoying using that approach because it just stops them in the tracks. And I'm finding it's quite funny because they will start using the terminologies when they're trying to describe a Earth's measured. They will use a lot of them words that I've said they can't use. And it can get a little bit heated. Sometimes it's like I can't tell them what to say and getting pretty angry about it. But I will stop them immediately. As soon as they say a word, I'll stop them in the tracks. And then I have found myself getting, on the other hand, some of the mods in some of the servers don't like it. And I've been muted quite a few times and been told to, stop what I'm doing. Because, they need a chance to talk and it's not fair what I'm doing. But
Hold on a second. They're stopping you because you're stopping them from using words that they're not allowed to use. Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, I'm telling them they can't use them, but it's very... but what it comes down to in the end, and it sometimes this happens, and it's great when it happens. I'm telling them, you can't use these words. You're actually describing how Earth's measured flat to me. Well, why can't I use these words? I say, because you're describing how Earth's measured flat. You shouldn't be using any of these words. These are the words I use to tell you how Earth's measured flat. You shouldn't be using any of these. You need to use curvature words and how curvature is measured. And you're not doing that at the moment. You're not doing very well explaining how curvature is measured. So you can't use these words. But they just keep using them. And it's really funny. But as I say, I've been in politics. I've been booted out of there a few times and told to, give people a chance to talk. So it goes down a little bit like that sometimes. But I'm not stopping doing it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, words have meaning. Zero slope still means zero slope. It doesn't mean slope.
Shout out to Charlie Uncut for gifting a membership, and shout out to Phoenix Rising 86 for gifting 5 memberships. Missed out on all of them, Neil.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube to retrieve them. Son of a gun.
Neil's under the impression that if you chat when somebody's gifted memberships, you'll pick it up if you're the next person to chat. I don't think that's true, but Neil seems to think it is.
That's how it works. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Neil is
just-
is like the guy that complains he never wins the lottery, but he never plays.
Right. Yeah, you can increase your chances of winning the lottery significantly if you buy a ticket. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
He's never on the Discord or on here, though, is he?
Who?
I've never. The Ian guy.
I think he's been on the show before. He's interviewed me before. I've known the guy for years.
But what's he called? Ian. What? What's his second name?
Who cares? That's his second name.
Ian, who cares?
Yeah, before you were running out, I heard you speaking of or people in here were speaking about the memberships, and I just as soon as I heard it, I ran over to YouTube and just put a comment in there, and then responded to some people who said something, and I was gifted a membership. So I just wanted
Told
to
you.
see. I don't know.
Told you.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with that.
All you got to do is hit one letter, and bang, you're a member.
You should have done it, Neil. You missed out.
I can't. I'm not on. I'm driving. I'm on the show. I can't be on YouTube too. I'll crash.
It's Ian Leahy. Sorry, I stepped away when you asked the question.
Ian Leaker. I think I know him from other platforms. Yeah.
It's just another flatty.
Yeah. I think I've come across him in the past, sort of thing. It doesn't matter anyway. I'm not just none of my bloody business, really. But
Didn't we?
You broke up, Neil, one more time. You're breaking up,
couldn't I
Neil.
said it better myself? Couldn't I said it better myself, Neil?
Yeah, absolutely epic, Neil. Thanks.
Did we review something that he did?
Pardon?
You still can't hear me?
I hear you now. It's always the case. They'll clear the airwaves for you asking if we can be heard clearly, and then the second you start making a point, we won't hear a bleeding word.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make the point now. Did we not review something by him a few months ago?
Yeah, he had a debate with somebody. He did very well.
Yeah, that's the prick.
Well, I've obviously rubbed him up the wrong way, moaning.
Are you allowed to say what you was moaning about?
Well, I'd rather not. Up until that point, it was completely private.
Exactly. So we don't even know about it because you came in and spoke well of what happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know what twisted him to come this way.
Anyway, whatever.
Well, I think he's just butthurt. He got deleted from the group. I don't know. Whatever. Move on.
Well, my concern was that this private issue would get discussed in a group of people that I didn't want influenced by my private beef with him. So I'm like, right, given that I'm moaning about something quite specific, I'm not going to have you discussing it in a group because I suspect you will. And what does he do? Makes his way onto the live stream anyway to discuss it publicly there and then. Oh, well, my suspicions were absolutely correct then.
Nathan, you got to look into that element, because how do you think that what's his name got on the panel? I forgot his name. Just Bill. Just Bill got on the panel because Paul got him in through Element. He was never invited by you.
Okay. Well, in any event, I don't really understand what you mean. You said it twice now, but let's not rehash that again because I don't really follow. Hello, Central.
Good afternoon.
Were you listening to the live show?
Okay? Say again?
Were you listening to the live stream?
I caught the end of it. I was at a market.
Fair enough.
Well, then somebody gave him the link then.
Sorry to interrupt your conversation. Just very quickly, Nathan. I will be emailing you later in regards to some computer help, if you wouldn't mind. Obviously, it's not flat earth related, but just to let you know.
You want to know something computer related? What do you want to know?
I'm having some issues. I'll detail it in the email. And I just want to know where you got your information in terms of overclocking.
My overclocking information? Are you overclocking your PC?
No, but I think I may need to.
Why?
It's crashing under high strain.
That doesn't mean you need to overclock it. What is it? What's the computer?
Yeah,
that's why I need your help.
That'll make it worse. What computer is it?
Yeah, if it's crashing already and you're overclocking it, it's just going to crash easier.
I'd underclock it if I was you.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Okay, I'll
is it?
send you the info on email. I didn't want to raise it up in conversation, mate. I just wanted to let you know. I'll send you the
I'm
email.
being completely selfish. It's because I do want to talk about it. But that's fine, yeah. Just email me. The guy who sat next to you may not be sat in his chair right now, but you know, Craig runs a computer shop, and when I first got more friendly with him, I explained that typically I'll overclock my machine, and he just rolled his eyeballs at me, and he's like, "Why? I'll get more performance out of it." And he's just like, "Look, man, whenever I ever have issues with computers, it's because somebody's decided that they want to fiddle with the settings and overclock it." And, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, and it causes issues almost every time. And he's not wrong. I've had to have a faulty computer to actually learn what overclocking really is, what you actually are controlling and what it's doing and how it's affecting certain systems within the computer and how they have a tally effect on other systems. Well, it took me a couple of years of having a crappy computer that didn't function properly to learn all this stuff. Because like you, at the start, you think, well, if I know how to overclock, I'll know how to control this chip and get it under control. Well, it actually takes a couple of years of learning that crap, which, to me, no offence to anybody else who's into that stuff, is utterly useless. I don't need any of that information. It's just not that useful. But if your system's crashing under load, then it needs more voltage to retain stability, which is sort of overclocking. You're adding voltage. But what if it's a relatively new system? Then I don't know. Maybe it's faulty.
Yeah, it's generally dangerous though to mess with your voltage, especially if you don't know what you're doing. I would stay away from that.
Yeah, well, I've the most recent chip change. I've just had a third chip in this machine, and the second chip, as it came out, has only been in for 6 months or less. And what I've had to do, because it started to fail after about a month, and started to crash. So I'm like, oh, bollocks. So I start tuning it and finding the point of stability. So you just give it a little tiny bit more voltage and test with a couple of stress testing tools. And then it crashes, and you turn up the voltage a little bit more, and it doesn't crash. You're like, all right, I've got the stability back now. And then you carry on for a couple of weeks, until it starts crashing again. And then what I was doing with the last chip was just slowly, incrementally, just giving it a tiny bit more voltage each time. Now, by the time the chip came out of the computer, they're both called Craig at the same shop, which is a bit confusing, but the younger Craig takes out the chip and shows me the bottom of the pins. It's like, do you see all that oxidation on the pins? I'm like, yeah, it's subtle, but I can see it. He's like, well, that's where it's burning, right? It's just too much voltage. You're like, yeah, well, I've been slowly, incrementally increasing the voltage to retain stability. So, yeah, I've been whacking up the voltage on a chip that already has an absolute shed ton of voltage going into it anyway. That's why they're that's why they're unstable to begin with, because they're pushing them so hard. So it's like, well, let's give it a bit more then. Keep it stable. So, yeah, by the time the thing came out, it was, you know, if I'd have kept it in the machine for another month, eventually it would have gone pop. Yeah. So it's not a good thing adding voltage.
Yeah, not at all. Just find your chip and then do what other people do on YouTube. Just increase the hertz just a little bit, like by 2, maybe 3.
But why? I get it. When it was back in the day, you could take a 486 to being, you could get it 60% faster. And up until about 10 years ago, that was still the case. You could get 20% improvement by overclocking the thing. But now that isn't the case anymore. You know, anything in the last 10 years, which is basically everyone's computer, there is almost no benefit to overclocking it. It's like 5% improvement for double the power. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it depends. You need a really good cooling system. Like you need like liquid cooling, but not the stock ones you buy. You need like a custom freaking loop, crazy colored one of those.
If you're so
you're just getting into
with
the
getting that
$5,000 computer.
Exactly. If you're obsessed with getting that extra 5%, then you've got to be prepared to understand that you're beyond the efficiency of the chip. Ergo, it's going to be pumping out an absolutely horrendous amount of heat because it's inefficient. So what does that inefficiency mean? Well, it's going to turn most of the energy pumping into it, not into speed, but into heat. So all of that excess heat's got to be dealt with, which means you need a custom loop. And for what? 5 to 10% more at best. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, once you get to 5 gigahertz, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, I agree. Go on, Central.
I'll ask one person for advice, and the person next one will agree, and then I'll put that advice to somebody else, and I say, oh no, don't do that, do this. And then round the circle I go.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, if it's crashing, it's unstable under load. Well, what is instability under load? Lack of voltage to maintain the frequency and not crash. That's it. That's all it can be. If it's crashing under load, it's all. Alternatively, it's overheating. There's nothing else it can be. Or you've got a faulty stick of RAM. I can't think of anything else it could possibly be.
All right. Well, thanks for talking about it anyway, even though I didn't really want to.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
The person you need to speak to is Craig. Click OK Computers. Because that's what he does.
I'll send him a direct message.
Yeah, send him a message because, you know, that's what he does. Me, I have no idea. When he was changing the chip over, right, at one point I had to hold the motherboard onto the cooler, onto the plate. And while Craig is wrestling with 20 different cables that need to be carefully arranged to not catch on anything, and clipping in things blind because it's the back of the board that's reversed. He's done all of this, and then he's gone, can you just hold this board for a second? And while he's doing it, he's screwing the nuts on. I'm like, getting this board to stay level while the nuts go on is the most important part of this process. And he's like, yeah. And I says, in other words, the bit that I'm doing is the most important part of this process. And he laughed. But, you know, me standing there holding a board whilst shooting the crap with his son, it's like he's sweating, doing the actual graft, and I'm saying, yeah, the bit I'm doing, that's definitely the most important part of this process. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I'm sure you have some YouTube videos that you watched in the past when you were learning, but you maybe still refer to, or you know is good information that you could just send me the link to?
I like Frame Chasers as a videographer. He's a little YouTuber, but he generally is fairly straight talking. And he's always very pessimistic about why you'd bother doing anything. They're like, so a new chip will come out and he'll be like, have you got an old chip? Does it work? Well, then what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? Why do you want to upgrade? Yes, it is 7% faster. So what? You probably wouldn't even notice. And he keeps moaning about everyone needing FOMO. You know, fear of missing out. When they're like, I need to upgrade. I've got a 12th gen. I must have the 13th gen. It's like, why? What are you doing? What's the point? And same with overclocking. He's like, what are you trying to achieve? You know, you want it to go a bit faster. Well, have you actually tested that it does actually make the game run faster if you overclock this chip? Does it actually make the game run faster? Have you tested that? Let's test it. Let's get your chip and put it in a machine and run it at the frequency you say you've got it, and then run it at a normal frequency and see if there's any difference at all. And he does it, and he's like, there's no difference. The difference is margin of error. So what's the point of overclocking it in this scenario? If you haven't tested whether or not it actually gives you an improvement, why would you do it? There you go, Frame Chasers, if you want a videographer. He's also got an attitude a bit like us, which is he's got a Discord server, and when anybody comes in that's clearly a bit Dunning-Kruger and doesn't really know, if I was to comment in the server, I'd be banned immediately. Because I'd be like, does this make sense? And everyone would go, get rid of him, he's disinformation agent. They kind of have that attitude. If you're talking crap and you don't know what you're talking about and you haven't tested it personally, don't talk about it in their server. That's his attitude. And if you do, you'll get banned. There you go.
Is that the QE of tech then?
Yes and no. I mean, the QE guys would be the extreme overclockers that are using liquid nitrogen to push their chips to 7 gigahertz and ludicrous stuff like that. Not even 7. Some of them are getting close to 10 gigahertz. It's ludicrous. Nevertheless, they're pushing the chips beyond what a normal person would want, and they're not doing it for a game to run quickly or get more frames per second. They're doing it just so they can show that frequency, just to show that it can achieve it, and then run Limpack or some benchmarking software just to show that it runs stably. But you're like, well, there is no useful purpose of a benchmark. It's a benchmark. They're just showing that it can do it, which is kind of pointless to me. But they would be the quantum eraser equivalent. He's more like me.
Right. Well, the issue I'm having is that the computer will be on still, but the screen will go from the screen it was on to the background screen of the television, the default desktop icon. You know, the background pictures that are set when it was made. So it's still plugged in. If nothing's changed, it just goes off. And that problem has come about sporadically since I've had it. But I've just waited to the next graphics card update, and that's usually fixed it. And it's still inconsistent. Sometimes I can be on quite a significant amount of hours under high strain and have no issues, and then I can be on 20 minutes and it goes off. So I don't know what I'm going to get when I turn it on.
Oh, I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's a first world problem, but it's an inconvenient one.
That is the most frustrating thing when you don't know what's causing the problem. So in the case of the original PC, the cooler had cut into one of the lines that connected the RAM to the CPU. So it could run perfectly for a prolonged period, and then if it just happened to use that data line to that bit of RAM, the whole system would fail. But if you don't know that, you don't know that. You just see the RAM getting quite hot and then try and cool it down or run it slower so it doesn't generate as much heat. You see the CPU overheating and think the same. I'll have to control that and turn it down so it doesn't overheat. It must be that. You see the graphics card overheating. Those were my woes initially. And all you're getting is non-stop crashing no matter what you do. But in that case, and until the motherboard was stripped out of the PC, there was no way of knowing what was causing those issues. So I feel your pain.
Thank you.
I can't help. Yeah, it's just a process of elimination that might result in something wrong with the motherboard, or there's something wrong with the RAM, like it's a component's actually failed. Have you done any stress testing on it?
No, I've hoped with patience the problem will just go away and solve itself if I just don't put it under high strain too often.
Fair enough. The solution is actually to just test it, to figure out what's causing the problem. So download a utility to test the graphics card, like Furmark, and download a utility to test the CPU and RAM, like Intel XTU, and just run each stress test individually. Run a test on the RAM, stress it for half an hour, and see if it fails. Test the CPU, run a stress test for half an hour, see if it fails. Run the GPU, and one of them will probably result in, the moment I fire up Furmark, it crashes, which means obviously you've got a GPU problem, because it's that's causing the computer to crash when it's under stress. That seems the least likely, though. Normally what happens when a GPU crashes is something will fail, like the software that's using and putting that card under load. That will crash, unless it's really been, like, you're trying to, again, extreme overclocking, and you're trying to find it, and you're initially trying to find that point, and it can take down the whole system. But yeah, just try each thing individually with a stress test and see which one, when under load, causes the system to crash. And you'll probably isolate it to just a stick of RAM, or, hopefully not the RAM, hopefully not the CPU or motherboard, because that's the last thing you want it to be.
Well, I very much appreciate all this.
Oh man, I wish I hadn't told you. It's a nightmare when you've got something that's going wrong. I spent hours and hours, days in front of stress tests, days and days and days and days and days, not being able to get anything to go wrong. Then you fire up a show and it would crash.
Yeah, I spend the majority of my life at work or asleep, so I just want to be plug in and play. I haven't got the time or the patience for hours and hours and days and days, tweaking and fiddling with things that I don't really understand.
Exactly. Neither did I. Like I say, my life became a slave to this computer for a couple of years, slowly learning how to operate all this stuff, to rule it out. That's all I was doing, really. Ruling it all out as fine, because ultimately there was various components that died through heat failure, but then when they died, it just died, you know what I mean? It wasn't sort of ambiguous about an intermittent fault. And with a data line that's got a screw into it, I think partially it was working. You know what I mean? It was occasionally making the connection and not actually failing. But anyway, it's just, like I say, I don't envy somebody who's now got to try and trace down some stupid fault that they don't know what it is. It's just that's the worst possible nightmare with a computer, an intermittent fault that you don't know the root cause of.
But I'm sure you feel a lot better having gone through all that with your knowledge now, and because of what you know, what you're able to overcome when you face a problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, because this, as a good example, right? Before this chip, which is the same as the last chip that was in it, went into the computer, I'd already figured out from that frame chasers guy what it was that was causing these chips to become unstable. So before the chips were swapped over, I waited overnight for the system to cool down, and then set the settings that I wanted the new chip to have, and then just sort of crossed my fingers and hoped it could load into Windows so I could shut it down. Unfortunately, it did. It accepted the settings because I wasn't running any software. Got into Windows, I shut it down, and then took it down to Craig. And literally all he did was swap one chip for the other and turn it back on. Now, other than some fans being in the wrong places, it just fired up at the settings that I wanted it to be at. All the reduced power settings, all the correct voltages, all the correct clock speeds. So it just, there wasn't any actual faff. There was no settings changes. But I only know what settings to have from being able to faff with a chip that didn't actually have anything wrong with it and learn how it worked for about 18 months, and then having a chip that was literally suffering manufacturing defects in the system and fail, to figure out how to get that one stable, to then end up with a third chip that's been cobbled from the moment it went into the system. It's never ever reached its potential, stock frequencies. It's been cobbled from the moment it went in. But now it'll probably last forever. But, you know, you don't know what you don't know. Most, if not all people who just bought that chip would never know to reduce its frequency to stop it killing itself. Oh, this is fun. This has cheered me up. It's nice to be back in this seat talking about computers while everybody else around rolls their eyes and thinks, God, I wish they'd stop talking about this.
To me, people who are able to fix computer problems, they're the opposite of magicians. Usually magicians are tricksters, people who are making parlor tricks appear to be wizardry. But they're actual wizards. I'm convinced that computers are just magic.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I watched Lewis Rossman when he like doing board repair videos as opposed to moaning about the government. But when you watch them under a microscope dealing with tiny little traces and pulling out a hair-thin piece of wire and putting it back on a board where they've scraped away something that's burnt and reconnected that PCB connection under a microscope with a tiny little soldering iron, you're like, wow, that's so awesome. Board level repair is just, I don't know, I could sit and watch it for hours. Very geeky. Yeah, that's what Craig does. That's exactly what he does. He sits with his microscope and repairs people's computers.
Nathan, is it true that you came across a group of anti-flat earthers during your live meetup?
Yeah, right at the end.
What was your experience with them?
Same as on here. They denied that the Earth was being measured when you take an elevation angle to get a GP. I then asked them how they get their latitude measurement to wrap it around a globe, and the guy conceded that it was an angle measurement. But they had to, or the individual guy had to deny that it was the ground. So exactly the same as happens here. No different.
Amazing.
Say again?
I said amazing.
Not really. Par for the course, not as opposed to amazing. Globe believers have to deny that we're measuring the ground when we're navigating the ground and getting positions on the ground with respect to the ground that we're measuring for the angle off the ground. Not a shock. Not amazing. Absolutely standard fare. In fact, I'd preemptively said that would happen in the presentation I did.
So
Is it going to be posted to the to YouTube like what you did yesterday?
Yeah, I did. Again, when I was all positive about it, I shouted at Ian. I was even recommended his channel by name and told you that it would be up in a couple of days, right? So I guess I'll reiterate that. I guess I'll reiterate that again, even though he's come and swore at me on the live show. Yeah, check it out on Flat Earth Social channel. Should be up in a few days.
Alrighty. Flat Earth Social.
Yep. It was only filmed on his phone, so don't expect any mad quality.
Oh no, it's fine. I just wanted to see how the crowd was reacting and whatnot.
Yeah, the reaction was good. You don't get the same feeling from a video.
People tend to behave differently in person.
Say again, sorry.
Hmm? Oh no, I was just saying people aren't going to start screaming and swearing in public like they would on a Discord. So I imagine people are a little more behaved.
Nothing like that. Not at all. No, it's all very civilized. Like you say, but it's just hard to get the the impression of the audience and how they're reacting to you when you're looking them in the eye and giving you delivery. It's a very different experience to watching it back on a video from a camera phone. But you'll get a vague idea from it, I hope.
That's cool. I look forward to seeing that.
When is this going to be aired where I can see it?
I just told you in a couple of days. I asked him, and he said it would be coming out
You
either
didn't
on.
just tell me I'm working, so that means I didn't hear it. If I asked a question, Nathan, that means I wasn't here to hear it. So
Oh,
just
my
answer
bad.
my question before I call up your live show and start making a ruckus.
Okie dokie, just for you. Ian said it would be out either Thursday or a couple of days after the weekend if he doesn't get a chance. So it might be out in a couple of days, it might be out tomorrow. It'll be out when it's out.
Or he might not let it out.
Hello.
Hey, good morning. I missed the show, but by any chance, did you guys cover what McToon talked about last night?
I have no idea what McToon talked about, so no, I'm afraid not. Listen.
He did a show. He's talking about you guys. You guys were over in Gio's server on a Monday. This was like back in March, and he went over. But oh my gosh, like I almost threw my phone, bro. I was getting so angry at the nonsense he was saying. And I was just wondering if you guys covered it, but maybe another day you could cover that show.
Yeah, fill us in. What nonsense was getting you so angry you wanted to throw a phone at the screen?
Go over it.
Because he's talking trash also about John. He's like, this guy, he's like trying to discredit him. Like, this guy supposedly has like these 2 degrees and he doesn't have them. And he like, it was frustrating me. He draws a circle or like a half circle. And then with his protractor, he like draws straight lines from the center of it. And then while John's saying you can't get a 90-degree because that requires 2 straight lines, you can't get that on the surface of a ball. And then he's like drawing these fictitious lines that are shooting out into the sky, and then like multiple ones from the center of the circle he drew. And he's like, it's very easy. Look at this is how we do it. And then he's like draws all these 90 degrees. But I'm like, dude, that's like why is he deceiving the people right now? Why is he being so disingenuous? That's not.
He can't get 90 degrees on a sphere. He might get it on his paper.
And that's yeah. But if you just watch the show, man, like, and he's just talking so much trash. I was like, man, this guy. I stopped watching. I had to stop watching. I was getting too angry of how disingenuous the guy is, or just maybe just how brainwashed he is, and he thinks that. Well, then again, if you think about it, they have to do that. It's not reality, but they have to do that to make their model work. To make their falsehood, into a reality, even though it's not. But I don't know. It was just frustrating for me.
I don't get how McToon is like the tip of the pyramid for Globers when he's literally just as dumb as anybody that comes in here.
It was ridiculous, and he's talking so much trash about others. I can't stand the guy.
I need to find that clip when he was on Jaron show. And he goes, "Oh, it does make a triangle," when he's like looking at a celestial map thing. Like, I don't get like why like McToon, he doesn't say anything differently than any chat skink that comes in here. They all say the same script. I just don't get why he's in such high regards as like the ultimate Glober when he's not. Just a lame-o.
You just answered your own question.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because he's parroting the same low-level chat skank garbage that we deal with from anti-flat earthers, he's held in high esteem. There you go. There's your answer.
Just like Fight the Flat Earth. He responded to my comment once about bouncing radar off the sun, and he goes, why wouldn't you be able to? The sun's made out of matter. And I'm like, well, yeah, so aren't stealth fighters, and they don't bounce radar. Like, no, he's just an idiot.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a black body.
Not only that, there's no surface for the radar to bounce off of. It's all gas and plasma and whatnot. And again, it's a black body that absorbs everything.
Right.
Oh well.
No, I was just wondering if you're gonna cover it or something, go over it, but maybe just in particular because he was trying to say, oh, that it was you and Witsit arguing in GeoServer. That's what it was, and he was loving it. He was like, they're both wrong. You know how he talks about. You know how he talks, and then. But you guys are talking about celestial navigation, you're talking about angles to stars, and he's like drawing that too. Like he's drawing, like he's like Nathan's right here and Winston's right here, and like he was just. It was. I got halfway into the show and I turned it off. I was like, this guy's a moron.
Yeah, a couple of things. So you're saying it was so frustrating that you didn't want to watch, which isn't really a great endorsement. But secondly, if he's responding to me and Witsit arguing, it gets too convoluted if I'm responding to someone else responding to me talking to somebody else, if that makes sense.
All right, no, I hear you.
It just doesn't make for a great video for the audience, that's all. If it's us internally doing it, we will do that sometimes, and even sometimes, very rarely, it might make it to QE's show because he's doing a response to me. So in the case of yesterday, there was a small clip that he did, and for QE to point out the flaw in the videographer's response to a video where I'm debating someone else and talking about diffraction, he can say, no, that doesn't make sense when you don't know that there's no difference between diffraction and the wave function that's originally described with the interference pattern. Well, he can make that point really easily, QE, that is, because he's not involved in the discussion that he's responding to, whereas I can't if it's me. Likewise, QE would find it difficult if he's responding to a session where somebody's critiquing him, debating something with someone else. That would be difficult and confusing for the audience when they hear him talking, then him talking about him talking.
Right. I was just referring to just maybe like just that one little small snippet of it when he shows the diagram of this like D to C and the F to G, like, and then he's like, it's like an actual page from like a book, math book or something. And then he even says, oh, John would know this page if he, you know, he had to have taken 1 year of calculus at least if he has this engineering degree. And then like, and he kind of based it off of that. And then if you just like snip that out of it, and then also when he did the drawing, point out how he's drawing 2 straight lines to make the angle, but he's no longer dealing with the actual surface other than a point at that surface. And I don't know, it's just, it's so disingenuous the way he did it. And I see why people are falling for the
Hold
lie
on.
because he's perpetuating it.
How long was John on the show before he went back to work? They could come on the show anytime and they choose not to. The one time him and Craig did, it was to give out some stupid awards. So I wouldn't pay any mind to what that idiot is saying.
Yeah. I could just really see like all his minions coming into the Discord servers and then like repeating, "Oh yeah, we could totally get an angle from a surface." And then here's the funny part: I went into Geo server this morning, and Manufactotum is in there telling them we can get angles from a curve. I'm like, oh my god, it's already not even 24 hours. It's already started. These guys
I
are
don't
already
want it done
repeating
on
what
a
that
piece of
goon said.
paper. No, don't do it on a piece of paper. Do it on a beach ball. Go ahead.
Right. Right. Yeah. I could just see that being the next thing for the next week because once that's kind of like the way it works. It seems McToon or Craig says some outlandish nonsense, and then all the little trolls will go infiltrate the servers and start spreading. It's like that's the new script. That's their new argument, even though it's old. But they're just like revamping it. I guess it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the sad part of the flat earthers that are going to fall for it too, right? The gerunds of the world. You sad sack of shit, you.
No swearing.
That's actually not a swear, but I get you.
How is sack of whatever not a swear?
Do you know in Guyana that's a regular word, and in Trinidad and in Jamaica, it's just a word. But that sad stack of turds.
Basically, in the uncivilized parts of the world, yes. Yeah.
Funny when Globers call flat earthers trolls. Like Embo was calling me a troll the other day, and I'm like, "Aren't you part of Troll Team 6? And you're calling me a troll?" Like, it's just funny.
Wait, what'd you call him? Troll Team what?
No, I thought there's a group called Troll Team 6 where they're gonna like troll every flat Earth server. And
Yeah,
it's
that,
like,
that
you know,
You have
it's the
outdated
same.
sources. It isn't called Troll Team 6 since like maybe a year. It's now GF6.
yeah, it's
The Globe
GF6.
Force 6.
Oh, whatever.
EMBO. How do you get an elevation angle from a curved surface? Not on a piece of paper. In reality.
Nathan wanted a short after show, not 4 hours of this.
With an angle from a curved surface is defined as an angle to a tangent to that surface at a given point.
No,
You were talking
measuring Earth flat.
No. Two straight lines isn't a single point. A tangent's a point. You need lines, not a point. Measuring two lines. One is surface level. Surface level isn't a point.
a tangent isn't the point, it's a line or a plane.
No, you
No,
only
it's
have
not a line.
No. We're measuring with respect to surface level.
No, you measure it between your line of sight to the horizon and the celestial body.
That'd be surface level. Yeah, that would be surface level.
No, your line of sight to the horizon isn't the surface level.
Yeah, it is. It's the horizon. It's where the surface meets the sky by your apparent position that you're utilizing to establish horizontal as one of the lines. Now, that's surface level. It's the horizontal plane the observer is standing on by definition. Now, you're saying that your ball is connected to this surface level by a single point. All that means is we're not using the globe for this measurement, but it is a measurement, and it's a measurement of the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. It's not a point, it's a line, surface level.
Told you. Told you they're going to start saying this nonsense.
Let me rephrase the question. Nathan, I asked him to give me an elevation angle from a curved surface, and an angle is not a point. At least that's how much I know.
He's saying that there is no use of the surface for the globe then. If you're saying we're using a tangent, that's not the globe. So we're not measuring the globe, basically. For this angle, globe not measured. Point's not a line. Suggesting there's a dangling globe beneath it that you're not measuring and it isn't part of the measurement, it's a straight line measurement. Means they're not measuring their globe for this. It's just that simple.
I fully agree. I agree that the point of the measurement isn't to measure the globe, is to measure an angle to a star to get your position.
Yeah, that's not the globe. It's the flat surface level that you're standing on.
You cannot stand on a level. It's an abstract construct.
Sorry, let's just read the definition. Sorry, you just denying the definition of a elevation angle measurement then. The altitude angle, sometimes referred to as solar elevation angle, describes how either sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between the imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. End quote, sustainable by design. It is.
Yes, I deny that definition.
I was just concluding. You said I was wrong, and now you seem to be interrupting the conclusion after pointing out that you saying I'm wrong is not the case. No, you're wrong. You said it was a tangent. The tangent point isn't measured and isn't mentioned in the citation I just gave. There is no reference to any tangent point because we're measuring lines. One of the lines is, quote, the horizontal plane the observer is standing on, end quote. That is the fact. You said no. You're just wrong.
Yes, but the term used in the definition, which is the horizontal plane, has even further definition if you want to go into how this term is defined. And
okay, I'll give you another one then. Oh, no worries, I'll give you a different one. No worries, I'll give you a different one. The solar zenith angle is the angle between the sun's rays and the vertical direction. It's closely related to solar altitude angle, which is the angle between the sun's rays and a horizontal plane. We're going to need a horizontal plane, surface level. It's the second time I've just contradicted your suggestion that it doesn't meet the definition. And upon conclusion, you started talking. Second time you've done that. I've got about 20 of these citations. they need a horizontal plane to measure to get the angle. It's an elevation angle. So it's definitely with respect to something's elevation. So it's with respect to the ground it's elevated above in the measurement. That's not a tangent point, it's a line for an angle. It's not a line that goes out into space because we're dealing with ground positions, surface level, and this measurement's utilising the horizon, a point where the ground appears to meet the sky. So we are dealing with the ground. It is a straight line. It's not a tangent point, and we're not measuring lines that disappear into space that have nothing to reference. We're just measuring Earth flat.
They have something to reference. The reference is the horizontal direction. It's perpendicular to the direction of the acceleration due to gravity.
None of the citations say that.
Okay.
So that's garbage. Next citation, this will be the third. The angle of elevation is a widely used concept related to the height and distance, especially in trig. Its definition as an angle between the horizontal plane and oblique line from the observer's eye to some object above his eye. That's what's that? bgus.com maths angle of elevation. I've got 17 more of them. None of them reference gravity. None of them talk about tangents in space. All of them reference a horizontal plane that you're standing on for the measurement. So do we need to do this 17 more times? You just keep baseless assertion and hand waving away what is defined as requiring a horizontal plane that you're standing on.
But the horizontal plane already has its own definition. So when you have a definition that includes this plane, you automatically also have include everything that this plane is defined by. And
okay, well, let's just give you another let's define it again. Fourth one. This one's from Tassidida Maths Explanations Altitude Angle. Altitude angle is the vertical angle between the projection of the sun's rays on the horizontal plane of Earth's surface. That's the mathematical definition of it. That's what it's defined as. I've just given you 4 that make it explicitly clear that we're measuring the horizontal plane of Earth's surface, the plane the observer is standing on, that's horizontal. None of these definitions are going to be hand-waved. Earth is measured flat for an elevation angle. The elevation is with respect to surface, its elevation. You don't have that. It is the end of your discussion here. You don't have any measurements with respect to a global surface for this angle measurement that needs a horizontal plane for you to be standing on to get the measurement. You don't have that. I don't want to do it 17 more times, Embo.
Yes, I already heard this definition. So because you rely on definitions that include the horizontal plane, let's define the horizontal plane.
No, we're not defining the horizontal plane. We're defining what an elevation angle measurement is and what it uses.
Okay, but if this definition includes the horizontal plane, then it has to be defined by something for you to know what it means.
Is a globe a horizontal plane?
No.
Well, then why would you be, as a glober, defining this term when it doesn't assist your argument? Yeah, we can define a different term contained within the definition of what's being measured, and it's explicitly stating what we'll measure is a horizontal plane. So you need to define what that is. Well, it's a plane that's horizontal.
Yes, it's a plane that's tangent to the Earth's surface.
No, that's begging the question. Tangent to globe surface that we're not measuring. So it's got nothing to... So the tangential bit is just you're begging the question and has nothing to do with the measurement. We're not measuring to points in space. We're measuring to ground positions on the ground. Second time I've said it. Do you have anything further to my absolute annihilation of your crap that we're measuring tangency to points in space when I've made it absolutely overtly clear by 4 definitions that we are not measuring to tangency? We're measuring to the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. The horizontal plane contacting the observer. The horizontal plane of Earth's surface. That is what it's defined as. Not tangential to a curve we're not measuring. That's just you begging the question in defiance of all of these definitions.
Okay, so let's define the horizon. The horizon, the definition is from Merriam-Webster.
Why?
Dictionary.
Which one of my definitions included the word horizon?
The horizontal plane is...
So it doesn't say horizon then? Horizontal plane isn't horizon, that's something else. You're just introducing this word that wasn't in any of my definitions.
The horizon is a circle that comes from the intersection.
I don't give a crap. An elevation angle measurement's a measurement of a flat Earth.
They aren't.
So they're not with respect to the horizontal plane of Earth's surface as defined then?
They are, but this...
So they're measurements of the horizontal plane of Earth's surface. Welcome to flat Earth. Because a horizontal plane of surface isn't a tangent, isn't a globe, and has sod all to do with anything other than what you're actually measuring, as defined as the horizontal plane of Earth's surface, which is what Earth's surface is. A horizontal plane. Because that's what needs to be measured here.
It isn't.
It's defined! I've given it you 4 times, you bleeding hand-waving tosser! It's defined as it!
Your
no, it isn't.
Didn't define the horizontal plane. It defined the elevation angle using the horizontal plane, assuming that you already know what the horizontal plane is. But you didn't...
Sorry, it's part of the measurement, and it's as per the definition, and you're telling me that I'm assuming what it is. No, it's part of the measurement. It's Earth's surface, as per the definition. It's the horizontal plane of Earth's surface, as per the definition. I'm not assuming anything. It's part of the bleeding definition.
Can you please provide the definition of the horizontal plane?
A plane that's horizontal? Horizontal, that would be, you want to define something that isn't an elevation angle measurement, which is what we would require for latitude, for example. Will require a horizontal plane to measure latitude.
Okay, but you didn't...
Not okay, it's welcome to flat Earth, but you need to define something else, extraneous. We know what a horizontal plane is, it's not a curved Earth. Okay is end of your argument. I don't want to rinse and repeat 16 more times when I've already defined that it's the horizontal plane of Earth's surface that's being measured. Oh, well, let's define what horizon means. Why? Let's define what horizontal means. Why? We know what horizontal means. It ain't curved Earth. So when you say, okay, that's the end of your claim. We can't measure a curved Earth for this. End of argument. Earth's measured flat. What will we be measuring? As per the definition of what we'll be measuring when we measure an altitude angle, we'll be measuring the horizontal plane of Earth's surface, which we must have to make this measurement. Earth must have a horizontal plane to be its surface, otherwise this won't be the measurement. You saying it's a tangent isn't Earth's surface. Tangents aren't surfaces of Earth. Your inferred surface isn't being measured when we measure the horizontal plane of Earth's surface. You don't have one. End of the globe, end of everything you have to offer here, EMBO. Now, I've done that 6 times. I'm done. If you rinse and repeat the same argument that I've already overcome in an attempt to undermine it by repeating it, I'm going to remove you from the conversation. Do you have anything else?
Horizontal plane of the Earth's surface. Also,
so did you just say the horizontal plane is not Earth's surface?
Yes.
Well, why would it be defined exactly as that then?
Because...
Get lost, get lost. He's just attempted to undermine what I've defined. So get lost! Goodbye for the rest of today. You can come back tomorrow, dickhead. I've defined it 4 times. And what's the response? No, it's not as per the definition, quote, the horizontal plane of surface, Earth's surface, end quote. No, it just isn't. No, is his response for the 7th time. Piss off! That's what they do. That's what the fundies did yesterday evening, rinsed and repeated over and over again, chanted through the reply that they've had 6 times previously. That's what EMBO did. It's par for the course. It's not the line and surface of Earth that we're measuring, as per the definition. It's a tangent line to space that isn't Earth's surface with a dangling Earth that we're not measuring below it. No, it bleeding isn't. That is not the definition. But if he can go to a definition that's not the definition of an altitude angle measurement, he can go to a, oh, well, if we define the horizon, something else, I'm sure I can find a horizon definition that includes the words globe Earth. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Meanwhile, part of the definition of this angle measurement is having a horizontal plane of Earth's surface to measure, because it's part of it. So that means let's do this merry dance where he just hand waves it over and over and over again. No, it isn't. No, it isn't the measurement. No, it isn't Earth's surface. 7 times is enough. I'm tired of it. I'm too knackered to deal with the same bleeding claim 7 times that's been overcome. Yes, it is the horizontal plane of Earth's surface. Why is it? Because that's the definition of it.
He just respawns every time, either in chat skanks or here, with the same debunked nonsense. We drug him around by his short hairs about 3 or 4 times before, but he just won't let it go. Yeah, carry your dumb ass out of here.
All they're attempting to do is leave some modicum of doubt in the audience's mind by continually undermining the argument with the same exact claim over and over again.
Yep. So, I jumped on in her Discord. I didn't think you'd be here. I woke up late. Sorry about that. So you're knackered, hey?
I'm exhausted. Done about 300 plus miles round trip in the last couple of days. Some of it, 60% of it in horrendous traffic, really slow. And then the last 30, 35%, whatever, 40% was belting up the motorway as fast as I can in pitch black because it's clear roads. But it wasn't clear roads because it was all bloody roadworks as they shut roads to fix them when there's hardly anybody on them. So it's just lots of travelling and I'm just knackered.
Stop your whining. So you had something to tell me about my description of their best case scenario yesterday with the fallacious, what did we call it? Instead of the final experiment, it's the fallacious entrapment. So the best case that they can have is to debunk a globe projection. Never mind, the latitude and longitude lines that are over top of the globe projection there, sunshine. Follow?
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
No, I don't really follow. I was giving you praise because you identified that there's 2 affirming the consequence. That's praiseworthy.
It's not consequence. It's not 2 affirming the consequence. It's 2 affirming the consequent logical fallacies, number 1. Number 2, it's not an experiment. Number 3, they're trying to debunk a globe projection.
Yeah.
I know they get it off. I know it starts with the flat Earth, but it's still.
Oh, now I
end.
follow. Now the penny's dropped. What you've taken umbrage with. You're saying I'm undermining your point when you say they're trying to debunk an azimuthal equidistant globe projection in false dichotomy with an affirming the consequent against a globe projection with an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. And I've turned around and gone, yeah, but both those globe projections have their origins in flat Earth. And you're like, grr, yes, but no, that wasn't my point. How dare you?
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't attempting to undermine it. I could have probably phrased that better.
Yeah, I know you weren't. I just thought I'd take umbrage because I know you're knackered. It would get under your skin.
No, that's not going to happen.
I know that, but I could try.
You can have a go. Like you had a go at
Exactly.
Flatsy for not knowing who she was talking about. Very subtle of you.
I didn't have a go at Flatsy. What are you trying to say?
I don't know, just trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
So you can play that
When
game.
when she was explaining it, just have this in your mind like Archie Bunker suicide. That's what I was doing back here.
Fair enough.
Shout out to Flatsy.
She's in the Discord server.
Shout out Heard.
Say again, Flatsy.
To chat out Heard.
Shout out Heard.
Shout out Heard. Thanks, Nathan.
You're welcome. Yeah, I've watched about a third of your show from yesterday, maybe an hour and 10 or something. Good show.
You need to watch. And
Well, I'm going to watch the rest of it.
all right.
Yeah, very, very good. And you said you're going to
Well,
have
thank
a...
you.
I got to the point where you're like, tune in October, there's going to be a month of us going through Witsit's garbage.
Yeah, you're going to be on the spit too. Sorry to say.
In what regard?
Well, there's not only you, but we're going to go over 1702 fully, 1724 fully. So it's not only you on the chopping block. But they're just little things. There's minor things. It's not a big problem. Then we're going to go over shit it with Babylon Bob, Roberts and Jenis, where Witsit prostitutes himself for Bob for his ephors. That train wreck, we'll go over that. Definitely. And we're going to go slow. So slow, like lasses in wintertime.
Yeah. I was talking to Brian about what you were discussing on your show yesterday, and he noticed something that I'd already pointed out when, what's the final experiment guy called? I've forgotten his name. Will Duffy. When Will Duffy's talking to a couple of Mudflood guys, and one of the Mudflood guys says to him, so the Earth is a bowl with flat water inside the bowl and land. And Duffy goes, yeah. I've got Jaren coming down to... In other words, it wouldn't have mattered if he told him he was a giant tomato. He'd just said, yes. Right. And with Witsit, the same thing happens, right? So Witsit's there, and he's literally tying himself up in knots. Well, I stand in opposition to the people who go on about how science is, something we should use, but also I understand how much validity they've got for it. He's tying himself up in these stupid knots for no reason. And the whole time, Duffy's just sat there with his shit-eating grin slapped all over his face. Well, Witsit ties himself up in knots. And I was like, yeah, Witsit could be saying anything. He doesn't care. He's got his agenda. And nothing beyond that agenda is going to be processed through his meager little brain. It's like, yes, Witsit, yes. Yeah, did you know I've got Jaren coming? He's so cheesy. Oh, QE's gone on server deafen halfway through me talking to him. How rude. Cheek of it. I'm just not even going to listen to you. I'm just put myself on server deafen. Right, is there anything else to chit-chat on the end of this show?
No, go and get your head down.
Yeah, I probably will. With that, another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.